Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
My name is Debz Scott, and I'm the dude who loves the woo right here on Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, alien contact, what it's like to be taken by aliens. Yes, Debz Shakti is here with us tonight, and we are going to kick some butt and take some names in learning all about aliens. ET contact. Dirty Fylth is here with another great cartoon, and so are all of you. Let's say hello. We got Ann B in the gold medal position, Nightmare in the silver, Sugar Britches with the bronze, Race Fan, how you doing, buddy? Robert Lamoth, Kathy Evans, Kurt M, Sundance Kid, Lisa C, Roy Boy, Mama, Susan, and Kim Stanley. How y'all doing? Brown Dwarf and Jenny, nice to see you. Hello, Monica. And there's Dino Bravo. What's happening, buddy? And Donna. How you doing? Dutch Hank, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, how are you? Eddie Haskell, good to see you. Eddie will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Allison Singh, how are you? Thank you for joining us. And Laura Lobbs, Emmy Tong, Marty Burback, Spacey Tree. How's it going? Spacey Tree is also going to be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Millennium, my man. Good to see you. We'll see you next week in Vegas, my man. Hadley, Nancy Thames. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Paramarv, W. David Page, Tim Mothman, Michelle Blasky, welcome to SOR Chat. Number 17 in your program, number 1 in your heart from Stockholm, Sweden. Starting at left wing, Lars Janssen. Science Melinda, good to see you. Hi, Stargazer. And Flying Monkeys, how you doing? Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Yes, he was. Ozzy, oi, oi to you. Jessica Deb from Sac, how are you? Timoth, man, good to see you as we continue on with our roll call. Cloaking Cryptids, welcome to SOR Chat. Obi Flett, my man, 1 week till Taco Bell, my man. 1 week. I'm pumped. Richard Elmore, Dirty Phil, super crazy. Good to see you all. And Chillgasm, nice to have you back. And continuing on. Oh, look who's back. Dim da dim. One of my favorite names to say. Dim da dim. Good to see you. Chedwin Manoli, welcome to SOR Chat from Spain. Forrest Louie, welcome. And thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. Wonderful way to support this show on a nightly basis. Thank you for the love, Louie. Peppa H, nice to see you. Penman, James Weston, good to have you here. Hi, Gorgeous Larry. As we continue on with roll call, Susan Alloway, nice to have you here. Polaris sucks because I'm an Arctic Cat guy. Juliana and Deb from SAC, thank you for that lovely super chat. We love your continued support here on Spaced Out Radio. Friend of Squirrel, good to see you. Addie Overbay, nice to have you here. And Digger Dog, 1 week, my man. 1 week till Vegas. Crystal J, nice to see you. Derek Galloway, how you doing, buddy? And who else? Mac Geek. And who else do we have here? Vin Man, what's happening, buddy? What's happening, Big Bad Vinster? All right, we got the radio side going soon. Bill WD-40 is going to hop on in there and lube us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. Yes. All right, War Criminal, Angela G, good to see you. And my brother Eugene, thanks for coming on in. Doc from Wyoming, good to see you. Once again, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. And if you're bored, do a little shopping at spacedoutradio.com. We got great swag there. We really do. Redneck, nice to see you. And let's see. I think we're caught up for right now. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, because we are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. High Dirt Road, Welsh Hammer, good to have you back. And who's ready for this? I am. What do you say we throw a little horns up? Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. It's a power show of woo tonight as we take a look at what's it like to be taken by aliens. We will be joined by Debz Shakti very, very soon. Then in hour number 3, we're going to go among the missing. Steve Stockton will bring us another spooky tale. Following that, we have Big Tex filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. Now, many of you may know Debz Shakti because she is one of the world's renowned hypnotherapists and experiencers, as well as somebody who helps counsel experiencers about their incredible experiences with extraterrestrials. Now, you don't have to believe it if you've never experienced it, but for those who have, it is a surreal experience that is very true to them. Now, Deb has also been a producer on a very good friend of this show's, John Yo's movie, Alien Abduction Answers, and she is literally one of the best reputations in this field. That's why we love having her on. And with all this hubbub going on about the government and UFOs and the denial of UFOs and an extraterrestrial presence here on Earth, there are those who are being taken. Are they having mental relapses like many people and skeptics think? Are they actually having some sort of encounter with a supernatural creature? Let's find out. Debz Shakti, it is always a pleasure to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much. I'm going to get you to turn your speaker down just a little bit because I am getting a little feedback from you. But thank you so much for being here again. How are you?
I am just great. Thanks for having me back on again, Dave. How's that?
I am
better.
It's getting a little bit better. Yes, it is. You know, Debz, for somebody who may not understand what this entire subject is about, I mean, there is a reality going on out there that many in the mainstream world cannot fathom, cannot imagine unless they watch a Hollywood movie like Independence Day or Close Encounters of the Third Kind or any type of movie of that ilk. But every day you live this life of dealing with people who've had extraordinary experiences, extraordinary encounters. How did you make this your life?
Well, I came into it this way, Dave. I was born an experiencer, I guess. It's been a weird and bizarre life, realizing that not everybody lived the same way I do. But even as a very small child, had experiences with ETs and other beings. I had another family that overlaid their dimension of my own family life. And I just, I had I came in with all side gifts turned on already. So, yeah, it kind of just, I think it's just what was my purpose, was to come into life already having experience and being used to it, so that by the time I got old enough, I could be empathetic and help people who were also having those experiences, but maybe weren't so comfortable with it.
Deb, for you, and we're gonna, just for our people listening, we know Deb is having a little bit of audio issues with her microphone right now. We are trying to fix that on the fly here. But for you, Deb, as we continue on here, you are someone who has made this your mantra to help people and to use your own experiences in order to help guide those who may be very confused about this. Because the one thing that I always bring up to our listeners, whether they are in our YouTube chat room or listening on terrestrial radio, no experiencer has ever asked for this. It
Yeah.
just happens. And it doesn't matter if you're a child or you're 50 years old like I am, or near 50 like I am, or even older or even younger. There's not a single person on this planet who could say that they asked for ET contact. And those who have had it have either had an awesomely wild ride or things that nightmares are absolutely made of. For you, as someone who has dealt with this for decades now, how do you talk to somebody for the first time about their own encounters?
Well, that's just the thing. As much as I love to talk, I take a listening seat when it comes to helping people who have these experiences. Usually, they're in some sort of state, whether they're scared or they're joyful. It's just one of those things where it's better to listen. I love to hear people's stories, and then once I hear a story, I can connect with them much better, and then give them a little context, perhaps, from my own experience.
And that really helps out, because the one thing that a lot of experiencers don't know is who they can turn to.
Mhm.
Who can they trust with their stories? Because this is an intimate story. Okay, it's something that people are not sure of. They're afraid they're going crazy. They're afraid they're losing their minds. They try maybe bringing it up to a spouse or a best friend, and they kind of get laughed at regarding it, so they don't bring it up any further. I mean, this is a story that can really cause a lot of mental anguish for a lot of people, and it is a very psychological story.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. And it does. It's all the buttons, the emotional, the psychological, and indeed, a lot of the times the physical, even. So it helps to know what to ask once they stop telling their stories, so that they can fill it out even more. Because a lot of the stuff is just repressed or even blocked. So that's where I come in with with the hypnosis, but also with just compassion. And I take everyone at face value, by the way. Even people who come into my work, I've had people over the years come in just to debunk and to kind of say, oh, I'm going to prove that she's not all that and everything. I don't care what they think of me, but I want to help people. But everyone seems to come away at least, from the sessions with me, knowing that they've been heard and believed. I take everyone at you until until I can tell that being something. Usually, it's not anything nefarious, but I think it helps for someone to know that someone else believes them and is not going to judge them, and that's the first.
Deb, I'm going to try some for our audience listening. I'm just going to test some audio. You might hear some dead air for a couple seconds, but I just want to reboot one of my audio programs to see if that's what's causing some of the issue here. All right, we are back here, and Debz Shakti is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're hoping to clear up this a little bit of an odd, issue. Maybe it's on my end, maybe it's on hers. I don't know. Maybe it's the aliens that are causing all sorts of stuff there. But Debz, for you, as you have made this a great part of your life, you've met some incredible people, some incredible experiences. You've talked publicly about a number of your own experiences, as well as you helped John Yost recently on his new movie Alien Abduction Answers, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal. Even though it is John Yost in his khaki pants. No, I love John. I just love bothering him. But the idea behind it all is that we are in a situation here where there's still a lot of denial going on about the idea of extraterrestrial contact. The
Mhm.
mainstream public, the mainstream media, the government denial recently that is going on by Sean Kirkpatrick at the Arrow program, saying, at the recent hearings, that there is no proof that extraterrestrials or UFOs or aliens are visiting Earth. I mean, there's a lot of negativity going on regarding this subject, negativity and denial, I should say, regarding this. And yet here we are. Nobody ever asks the experiencers what's going on. The scientists don't ask because they think we're just going to ruin things for them, in their scientific studies. And yet there are very few who are actually out there defending the experiencer side of things. When everything seems so uphill, how do you continue to remain positive about getting the message out there?
Well, because the positive aspect of it is true, and it's important. And if we don't keep doing the good work, if you will, if we don't keep plotting forward to get the truth out about it stuff, paradigm will continue. It'll be the status quo, which is there are people trying to control most of the people. Um, let's be honest, if everyone understood real, that we are not alone, interact with many different civilizations of beings, of other people, if you will, from other places and other dimensions, um, most of the organizational institutions on our planet that are, pretty corrupt would fail, because none of them would hold up under that new truth. Everything is built on the lie that we're just these little people who have to look up to figures to keep us going, because we're not able to do things for ourselves, and that's all there is, and it's not the truth.
Uh, and you're right, it isn't the truth. You know, I mean, but the big argument that people have against ET contact is, where is the proof? Where
Mhm.
is the proof? Where's the evidence? Show us what's going on. You have no video. Why haven't you put a trail camera up or a video camera up in your bedroom if you say this is happening to you? Why have you not done anything to prove your story? We're sick of anecdotal stories. We hear it all the time. And yet those who are skeptical don't want to see or seem to understand that you can't tell if you're going to be taken in the middle of the night. You
Right.
can't tell when it's going to happen. It could be in your bedroom. It could be on your couch. So are you supposed to, be live 24/7 on a YouTube channel trying to, film yourself? Oh, I got to drive to 7-Eleven. I need a Slurpee, and boom, you're taken.
Put
I
my
mean, it
health alarm on. Yeah. Well, two things. Number one, most ET contact that I am aware of does not occur in the physical. It's not physical. It's interdimensional. Now, it may, there may be some physical aspects, but myself, I filmed many things, and I have a lot of witchcraft and weird things happening on the ground during some of my workshops or retreats or whatever. Beings in the room, orbs, all that. But most of that is just semi-physical. It's not people walking up to you in your hand. You know, people are looking at this. We always try to put things in the context of what we know as third dimensional earthlings. And we're just a speck in the cosmos. Not everything operates the same way that we do. And so, you know, let's just look at this. Because they're coming from, even if we're talking about third dimensional stuff, they're coming from other star systems. More than likely, they have evolved enough to be semi-full so that they could move faster than the speed of light. So you're not going to capture that on most cameras. You're not going to capture that on most audio equipment. You can get a little bit, but yeah, and several times I have literally taken out, you know, heavy duty camera equipment and audio equipment to my expeditions. And there's this right there in front of us getting ready to, you know, send, and all the cameras fail because the difference in the electromagnetic frequencies, and they made us not want to be that way. But let's be real. Get on any YouTube video and in UFO footage, millions of videos. There are millions of videos of things. Some of them hoax, maybe, probably, but there are a lot of them that are real, and it can't be. And for our government or other powers to say the evidence just isn't there, well, it's just gaslighting. That's all it is.
Yeah, and that gaslighting seems to be getting a little bit more vulgar as we move on here, Deb. I mean, I don't even go on UFO Twitter anymore because it just, in my opinion, has turned into something that was great for gathering information into an absolute cesspool of insults and infighting and really the uglier side of a subject that we care so much about. I mean, and I blame the government for that. I blame a lot of the skeptics for that. And look, skepticism is good. Skepticism is needed. I'm an experiencer myself, Deb. You know, you and I have talked a little bit. You know that I am trying my damnedest to get to the answers of what even happened to me. Okay, and look, there's a lot of people like me, like you, in our audience that really want to know what truly is going on here, and yet we fight it, and we see the information platforms that used to be so helpful almost betraying and eating their own when it comes to the experiencer. And even Dr. Gary Nolan from Stanford University has come out publicly and stated recently, look, guys, if we didn't have the experiencers, we wouldn't be as far ahead as we are today. Now, I'm paraphrasing. Okay, I'm not quoting him verbatim. I'm paraphrasing, but we need more people out there to start talking about the importance of how this can bring value to the UFO world. Because right now the science isn't getting it done.
No. Well, you know, they're trying, but most of science is being covered up because they don't want to share it with the world. There's so much competitiveness between countries, between governments, between even parties and governments, between real organizations. Nobody wants to share who has any good, who are, you know, in an upper level of power. They don't share because, you know, then they don't have the upper hand. And that's what's sad. Is awesome is we are the disclosure. We are the experiencers, people who go out on the weekends or go out in the middle of the night and look up or who envision stuff in their house and capture footage, or just sit and meditate and then have communication, or cerebral call it communion with these other beings. We are the disclosure, and there are millions and millions of us. In fact, it's estimated that there are 1 billion people now who actually have had an experience, who admit they've had an experience through some. That is 1/8 of the human population. 1/8. So it's growing. And pretty soon we're going to realize we need somebody else to tell us this is real. We already know it's real. Who cares if the Navy tells us that it's real? It doesn't matter.
No, I fully agree with you on that. How have you been able to keep yourself out of the fray, out of the darker side of ufology? Because you are very widely respected within the community. I mean, when I talk to a lot of people, as you know, and when your name is brought up, there's no eye rolling. There is no, oh God, there's no deep sighing. There's nothing. I love Debz. I love Debz. I love the work she does. Everybody is, and I don't say that to kiss your butt or anything like that, but there's a lot of people in this world, in this UFO world, that are highly critical. I've got my critics, many others have theirs. But for you, you've been able to kind of stay under that. How have you been able to concentrate on your job in helping people without taking the hailstorm of people's vitriol?
Well, maybe I will. I do get some. Let's be honest. I mean, be in this field and not. But really, again, I think it's just by trying to be the best example of compassion and respect that one person can be. No matter what you're doing, we should all be that way. And that's really, at least the ET beings, the other dimensional beings that I work. That's message is we all have to learn how to get together and respect each other and work together well to move up the next food chain, to join, the cosmic community, if you will. But do try to respect everyone. Everyone has their own opinion. They all have their own personal agendas. People who are trying to gain power. I mean, I feel for them. They're scared. They're running scared, and they're really reeling now because things are bursting at the seams. You cannot open your internet browser without seeing a story about ET contact these days. So, they can't keep it covered up. They can't just keep spoon feeding us little tiny things and think that we're going to be satisfied. And they can't brainwash us anymore with just the same nasty movies and books and things about ET contact. There are very positive ones out there. But they're going to be made because people in Yoast are, they're finally coming out and saying, hey, I need to say something. I need to do something. So there's a lot of people taking action, which, by the way, in my work, every single person in these sessions, we go through the whole process, but somewhere in there they actually share experience, real, clearly. There's always a call to action. There's always a finger pointing to what their purpose is, and that's what the call is about. It may be kind of a
Deb, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, and we'll continue that thought when we return on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to try and work on the technical issues. Don't worry, we hear them. We will get everything sorted out here as we continue with Alien Talk right here on Spaced Out Radio. Second half hour is next. All right, Deb, what we're going to do here is I'm going to get you to try and reboot your system, because I tried on my end with the audio, and it seems to only be coming through on your end, where it's pretty hard to, like, we're getting you. I could save that, but I can't clean up the audio. And
do you want me to change to my other system? I mean, I can go
maybe.
on. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
So
All right.
I get out of my school and get back in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna
Let's try
leave
that.
you. Okay, I'll leave you.
Let's try that.
Okay.
All right, Deb. We'll talk to you in a sec. Now, for our audience in our chat room, especially on YouTube, this is a live radio show. We can't just stop the show. It's got to continue. So I apologize for your frustration with the audio. The unfortunate part about it is with what we do, I can't do anything until the show is in a commercial break. Okay. So we're going to hopefully get Deb back. Hopefully the audio is cleared up. This is the first time that I've had her on the air, which we have had really bad audio. So we are working on it. But we will get things hopefully cleared up here. But just understand, just have some patience here and we'll get it cleaned up. And yes, we do know about it. Let's see here. Who jumped in? The lovely Kira has jumped in the room. Hello, Kira. And Candy R, how are you? Big J, thanks for coming on in. Who else jumped in here? Rano and Coley. Dave Scott, I want to interview you. We need to move past proving it's real. It's real to us. And if we focus just on this, we will never get answers. Oh, I know. This is why we do it. Catherine G, welcome to SOR chat. Anybody else I'm missing here? Dry Toast. Thank you for that amazing super chat. Very much appreciate your love and support from the man with the best name on YouTube. Where's my man, Dry Toast? Where are you? As a wrench, Deb, you should be able to put that link on. I don't know where it is right now. I've kind of got my hands full with an audio issue. Political foolishness. How you doing? Mike Bothwell, good Canadian kid. Mike Bothwell right there. Thank you for the super chat, Mike. Appreciate you, man. From Ottawa. I had a good Tim Hortons ice cap this morning. I did. I'm not going to lie. Bear with me. We're going to try something different here. See if this works. Alien Critter, how you doing? Izzy Stradlin, how you doing? John Sabe Maland, welcome back. Dirty Filth, you're looking good on the art there tonight, man.
Thanks, Dave. I feel like I'm on point.
You are on point tonight. Kira, Tim Hortons ice cap is what we call heaven when you drink it. Derek, tell him to send me some information, and I would do that. Forrest Louis, thank you again for the super chat. That's number 2 for you. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you could check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on talking about experiences tonight. What's it like being taken by aliens? We find out from one of the best. Debz Shakti is here, and I think we may have the audio issue now fixed. Deb, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome, Dave. Is that better?
Way better, way better.
Great.
So
Okay.
we appreciate you doing that. Deb, let's get to the question of the night.
Okay.
What's it like being taken by aliens?
Well, ask 100 people, you're going to get 100 different answers. But if you're asking me, it's always been fascinating, amazing, and exciting. I consider them my family, and so sorry about that. I'm still trying to get set up on this other system. Even if it's really shocking and weird at times, it's always a good experience for me. Not so for everybody, but like I said, I came in like this, so I was used to it by the time I was, able to complain about it. So, but it's always fascinating. There's always something new. I'm always learning, and I'm always meeting new people. So it's pretty cool.
I think it's absolutely astonishing how many people have differing experiences. I mean, how do we know, Debs, that the average person who is being taken is actually being taken? I mean, how do we know it's not some sort of hallucination? Maybe it's because we're depressed, we're anxious, we have a lot of stress going on in our lives. I mean, there seems to be a lot of commonalities that are normal within people who are having these experiences.
Mm-hmm. Well, really, Dave, when we come down to the bottom of everything that I do, what I believe, what I feel, what I know is that we're dealing with consciousness. It's all consciousness. I don't care what label you put on it, whether it's ETs or ghosts or angels or fairies or humans or dragons. It's all consciousness, and consciousness is us. It's just us on many different layers of being. If you come at it from a quantum perspective, it can get complex if you want to hear about, how I know that. But really, we're dealing with consciousness, and it can express infinitely along a spectrum of how it expresses and presents. So, I mean, think about this. You go take a walk outside your home for an hour, and if you live in a city, you're going to encounter, several people. Maybe you encounter 20, 30 people on your walk. They all look slightly or greatly different. They all have different personalities. They all have different agendas for why they're outside. And that's just, in your neighborhood. Think about, the vastness of the infinite nature of the universe, or universes. I call it the infiniverse because there are infinite universes as far as I know. It's all consciousness. So you can't judge. You can't say, well, this is what ETs are like, or this is what their agenda is. They're as varied as we are.
I get that and I understand that. And trust me, I can appreciate that as someone who is really trying to figure out what happened to me. In
Hmm.
the end, that's what spaced out radio is all about to me. There's the selfish answer, people. I want to know what the hell happened to me 8
Oh,
times that I know of.
I want to
Okay?
know what happened to you too. But
I, I, I
we'll get to
am your
that some case.
curiosity.
I
Yes,
know.
I am your
I know.
curiosity.
I
But
know.
the idea behind it that I'm getting at is the emotional toll that this takes on people, whether it's good contact, whether it's bad contact, because for for every time I know I've spoken about it, you get the eye roll, you get the
Oh
people
yeah.
pushing away from you. You know, you lose friends, even though they're supposed to have your back. There's a
Hmm.
lot of stuff that goes on, my friend, regarding this on a human level. Never
Yeah.
mind a a spiritual level. I mean,
Yeah.
most people can't even combine the two, Deb.
Yeah. That's fear. That's just fear. We have been from birth as humans in our culture programmed basically to fear anything that is not like us, that is different. And, it started with that person has a different color skin, or that person is a different, prays to a different God, or that person belongs to a different political party. Look out there right now. Everyone is afraid of something that is different than them. And they might not admit that they're afraid. They'll use it as more of, we must revolt against that party over there because they're not right. But it's all fear based. So it is very hard to make people understand, the eye roll people, for instance, to make them understand that it's okay to talk about this, even if they haven't had the experience themselves. Um, Although a lot of the times I like to say I meet the death protest too much. Usually the ones who are doing the eye rolls and the denials and everything, they're the ones who have those niggling feelings inside that maybe it's happened to them and they don't want to have anything to do with it. They're scared. So, pushed away by projecting their fear and their anger onto somebody else. But how do we get past people wondering if they've just had a dream or a hallucination or they're going crazy? We have to have more people listening and being compassionate and respectful and trying to break it down together. We do this together. And I think that's why, I don't know, maybe that's part of the whole puzzle, is that it's not right out front. It's not uh, ETs walking up and giving us their business card and saying, I come from Sirius B. There is a little bit of kind of the bizarre or the shocking or the wonderful or the scary, just to get people to pay attention to it. Because you know, most people, they're just in their lane. They just want to do what they want to do. They want to go to any McDonald's and get their favorite hamburger and no matter which McDonald's they go to, they want to know and trust that it's going to be the same hamburger, right? So that's just how our culture is. So people don't trust, and then they don't trust each other, and then they begin to not trust themselves. And I think that's what part of this contact business is all about. It's about teaching us to trust ourselves and to be more empowered.
Where are they coming from? This seems to be a great debate, Deb. Are they coming from the future? Are they coming from different dimensions? Are they coming from outer space? Is it a combination of all three? Is it something that we can't even imagine just yet? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this is one of the big questions that even the so-called government people, tend to be able to ask and throw about on there. I've heard Lou Elizondo say, well, we don't know where they're coming from. I mean, in your best guesstimate, with your contact and the people that you've talked to, what do you think's going on?
Well, if you want my answer is right here, right now. Everything happens right here, right now in the quantum universe. and it's just, you know, all overlaid, frequency after frequency after frequency after frequency. But because we think so linearly, we like to think of the past, the future, space, you know, distance. We also try to humanize it or third dimensionalize it. So they had to come from a physical place. A lot of people can't even fathom something coming from something that is not physical and maybe showing up as semi physical or a little bit physical. But the real answer is it comes from here. And who is it? They're us. They're us expressing from different frequencies. Now, you don't have to buy into that, but if you look at the quantum nature of life, if you study quantum physics, what you will understand maybe a little bit as you get into it is that everything happens in the same spot. But we like to look at it in an exploded view and think about distance and so forth, because that's how our human spacesuits operate. The operating system up here, this brain, it's a little bitty computer. This is our spacesuit, and all we know is what it can handle. But, you know, the big wide cosmos is so much bigger than that. But if you want to look at it from just a third dimensional aspect, like where did, you know, the people who've been interacting with you come from? Have you ever asked them?
I've never had, and you're making me think about that. I've never had an opportunity to do so.
Okay. And that's fine. I was wondering because everybody's contact is different. Some people have, you know, conversations or get clues or whatever. But what I can say is in my sessions, when people go in and look at these contact experiences clearly without all the subterfuge of the conscious mind and the programming and everything, what we get to is the real raw data, the real recording, you know, the non photoshopped information, if you will. You know, if you've ever had a really great camera and you take raw images, you can take those images and then put them through all kinds of Photoshop and all kind of enhancing and everything and make your pictures look completely different, right? Well, that's what the human brain does in a lot of contact experiences. It gives more information or takes away some information, or it puts other information in there to fit whatever the emotional need of the person is in that moment. And that becomes the reality, the experience. But when we go into this deep hypnotic state where you access anything, because everything you experience, whether you're aware that you're experiencing it or not, even unconsciously, it's all recorded in raw data, just like that image on your camera, untouched. When we go in there and look at that clearly, the message always is, we are you. We are you on a different frequency, timeline, however you want to say that. And there are infinite variations of you. And so, you know, some people like to say, well, that means that they're us from the future. Sometimes, yeah, that's how you want to look at it. But that's the best explanation I have for that.
Okay. So the idea behind people having these experiences, when someone is taken, what happens to them? Are they taken physically? Are they taken spiritually? Is it a combination of both?
Yes, yes, and yes. I mean, again, it is as varied as the day is long and as there are many people there are. I can tell you that the older I get, the more I'm realizing that maybe these experiences, you know, even when I was a kid, there were times when I was taken into what I thought was a spaceship. You know, even before I knew about spaceships, I that's what I thought it was, or to another planet, or to a different environment altogether, a city. If you think about John Yost in the movie, he didn't get taken to a spaceship. He got taken to like an underground cavern somewhere, right? So really what I believe is the experience, the environment that you are taken to or that you're experiencing in the contact encounter is it's a setting, it's a set for enhancing or helping you to put a bookmark on the experience for later or something. It has meaning in and of itself. So the older I get, the more I realize, wow, maybe I didn't go anywhere. I was traveling in consciousness, you know. But I can tell you that a lot of these times that I went, um, you know, when I was a little kid, I went up in, my goodness, one of my most incredible experiences, went out with my brother to the forest because we thought it was on fire. This is in the movie, and got out to our place where we usually played, and there's a huge mothership right above us. And years later, I watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and at the end, that big mothership, that's the same thing we saw, but decades before. So I hadn't ever seen anything like that on a movie or anything. But it was real. And I later realized that, you know, with my own regressions with someone else, that we were taken up, and it was a school, you know, in that craft. And sometimes the craft would go places, sometimes it wouldn't. But it was as real could be. And yet there are other times when I have gone to what it seems like I'm going into like a little round sphere or a Merkaba shaped kind of thing. And it's small. It's like the size of maybe a school bus, you know, in the sky. And then I get in there and it's vast. It's like a huge city. And there are thousands, maybe millions of people there, beings and humans, in that little thing. How does that happen? You know, another craft I was in, you know, it was crystal. It was liquid crystal, and you could see through it, and but yet you could realize all of the components. You know, where to sit, where to lie, where the controls were, and that whole thing was transparent, and that whole thing was linked to my consciousness, whatever I thought it did. So, you know, I don't have an explanation for, I don't have one answer for everything.
Considering this is like, it's like watching, you know, so many different stories play out at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't control what outcome is going to happen because everybody's experience is different. Why do you think the phenomena has so many different rabbit holes? Why do you think that the everybody's experience seems to be unique towards them?
Because we are each unique facets of consciousness, and each encounter has a special purpose for that person. And again, like I said, there's usually a call to action. There is a message there somewhere. It's an exchange of information, just like when you meet your neighbor outside and you have a conversation. You're exchanging information, data. It's the same with this, but no two are alike. Many are similar in many different ways. You know, I've worked with thousands of people and then, you know, done research and interacted with thousands more like you. And I just hear so many stories, and some of them are like mine. Some of them are vastly different. Some are brand new to me. I hear new ones every day. It's fascinating. But each person gets what they need out of these experiences. I'm absolutely convinced it is not to us. It's not happening to us. It is happening for us. But we are so small, and we carry around such a small operating system in our human brain that we may not understand it all at once. But as you go through your life, it starts to make more and more sense. And I promise you, Dave, it will one day. It will make sense to you. Um, if this is the lifetime that it's supposed to make sense to you. I have it on good authority that this is the lifetime that makes sense to a lot of people, and this is the one where we change everything for the better because of this. Now, how's that for woo?
I think that's serious woo right there. As we got about 3 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Debz Shakti is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. This phenomena is something that I think we're all trying to figure out. And like we just talked about, we're all on our own different path. Yet there are a lot of commonalities that people share, whether it's the beings that they're seeing, the messages that they are getting, and yet they seem to leave a lot of unopened or unfinished questions and answers. Why do they put so much on our shoulders for us to figure out when we don't even have the capacity to understand what the heck is going on?
Well, I have to say they're pretty ambitious teachers. Uh, I again, you know, people don't have to buy into this, but this is what I truly believe is that they are us and they're trying to help us move forward or move upward or whatever, evolve. And really, it's us reaching through the different timelines, frequencies, trying to wake ourselves up and say, "Hey, buddy, you've been doing this for a long time. Aren't you bored of it? Look, there's a whole lot more going on in the big, wild, wide cosmos that you could be enjoying." But they can't do our homework for us. They can just tell us maybe, which volume of the Encyclopedia Galactica to go look in, right? They do it with hints and riddles. I don't know why, but as a parent and a grandparent, I can say I would have never done my children's homework for them because they wouldn't have learned anything, so, and I do believe this is homework.
But a lot of people, to play devil's advocate for a second, a lot of people will say, Deb, that's a cop-out answer. That is something where that's taking the easy way out rather than trying to figure out why a lot of these beings are taking us against our will, against our knowledge, against what we maybe believe in on this side. I mean, there's a lot of open-ended questions to that.
Yeah. Yeah, we can get in. I know we're about to run out of time, but we can get into that whole being taken against your will when we come back, because that's something I really do like to talk about with people. It's something I love to explore, volition.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to, because that is probably the biggest argument that I get from our listeners who have had these type of experiences, is that they're like, I never signed up for this. Nobody ever told me that this was going to be. They didn't have permission to come into my house. They didn't have permission to take me. They didn't have permission to implant me or operate on my eyeball or make me part of the hybridization program. You know,
Or did
where
they?
that's a big question.
Yeah.
Debz Shakti is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Alien abductions. What's it like being taken by aliens? Turn up the woo card as we are about to enter hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Very much appreciate all of you tuning us in wherever you are. Spaced Out Radio continues with hour number 2 next. Stay tuned. I also figured out the other part of our audio issue, and that is that right before we were about to go on Showtime, both my computers hit me with wanting a Microsoft update, and I just can't do that.
No.
So, yeah. So what we're gonna do here? Thank you, John Music, for that wonderful super chat. We will try and figure something out here soon with you, man. Let's turn things over to the dirty one, Mr. Fylth, on what he is drawing tonight.
Ooh.
Yep, so we got about 5.5 minutes. I'll be right back.
All right.
Bye, Dave. Hi, Deb.
Hi. What are you drawing today? It looks pretty cool.
Someone's going for a trip.
Oh, I hope it's me. Or is it
I'm
you?
actually gonna. I'm just gonna Mary Sue myself into this one.
I love it.
I was actually going to draw a different drawing today, but I couldn't actually draw what I wanted to draw. It was just bugging me. So it was a big angry fellow with dark eyes, and I was like, I kept trying to draw, but I just could not get it onto the paper. It was really weird.
Interesting.
I went with something a little more simple.
I like it.
Except I slopped water all over it. It's still soggy, and I keep getting my hand on it.
Oh, I remember those days. I used to paint a lot, and in the same manner as you. Well, not in the same style, but using, is that watercolor? I can't tell what it is from here, but using a lot of dilution. And I used to use like ink pigments for mine, and then I would dilute them. And then the paper would get really soggy, and then I'd smear it and then have to start over again, or I'd have to wait till it dried and scrape part off, But I really like that. But I love yours. In fact, where I'm sitting right now, I can see the one that you did for me about a year ago that you sent me. It's so gracious. It's sitting right there next to my desk. It's on the wall of fame.
Ooh, Wall of Fame.
I love
Right
it.
on.
Yeah.
Well, I'll send you this one too, because this is kind of on the same category, because
Cool.
it reminds me of you, the drawing. So.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you. I love your drawings. So nobody in the orchestra tonight, huh?
Well, we had Whiskey show up, and the Gargoyle and the Gremlin were running around, and Blob was with me earlier.
Oh.
But she didn't really. She decided I got the window open so she can go sit up on top of the printer, and there's the little draft, and
Nice.
she likes to sit there because she's old and just likes to breeze.
Yeah. I had mine open earlier, but it started actually getting cold. So and it was noisy. So I don't want noise in this thing. He was having trouble anyway with all the sound, so the audio.
I was telling me she'd jiggle the cord.
Oh God, I know. Heavens. I know, I finally got a really cool pro setup that I use for my daily work, and it works like a dream. But he kept saying it was sounding crunchy and everything. Like, man, I haven't changed any of my settings. I don't know what's going on. So we're back on the iPad with the earplugs today. Whatever, it's okay. Whatever works.
It's probably the aliens, Debs.
You know what? More than anything, it's probably the ones who don't want us talking about the aliens. I get that a lot, believe it or not. I get a lot of tampering with my stuff, so that's okay.
It could be a ghost, a rowdy ghost.
Might be, and that's funny. We do have those. I live in a 100-year-old home, so we do have some dudes who didn't ever want to leave this place, and they're always playing around with stuff, so it's pretty funny.
So every time your audio kicks up, I have to go into your mic settings and lower you down and bring you back up in order to kill that crunchy sound.
Oh, are you still getting it? Because I'm on a completely different system.
No, it's working better now, but it's because of my computers.
Okay. Yeah,
I love it when Microsoft wants me to update right before showtime.
It sucks. I was just telling Phil that I just, a few months ago got a really pro system, and I work with it, all day long, every day, and it's just a dream. So I was like, how can that be acting up? It was working fine an hour ago, so I don't know. But it's okay. That's why we always have a backup ready.
You got that right. And you're doing awesome.
Oh,
you're doing awesome.
Thanks. I feel like I'm talking in circles tonight, though. I apologize.
No, you're doing great tonight. You're on fire.
Oh, God. I was up all night with a sick dog last night, so I'm just kind of like, "Nah," you know. And
Dirty.
it's a deep subject. It's really hard, you know. There are many answers as there
Yes.
are questions.
Oh, yeah. I always love it when people are like, well, like last fall when my buddies and I saw Bigfoot, they're like, well, why didn't you get a picture? Well, we didn't expect it to be there.
No.
One, and I don't think a lot of people who are skeptic of it all understand that the last thing when you have this experience, last thing you're thinking of is actually grabbing a photo.
Do you know? Yeah, there have been so many
We got
times
like
when.
5 seconds. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Thank you to Louis times 2, Deb, Derek, Dry Toast, Mike, and John for the super chats. Here we go, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fylth. Fylth is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. What is it like being taken by aliens? That is the big subject tonight. And with that, we have somebody who investigates this. Debz Shakti is our guest tonight. www.debz with a Z, Shakti, or for your Americans, Z. How can you tell I'm Canadian? Z.
Zed.
Yeah. Z.
Yeah.
Debz with a Z, Shakti. That's SHAKIT.com is her website. If you could figure it out through that, that would be great. That would be absolutely great. Debz, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. Actually, I didn't realize it, but my website it came on like that. It's on my identifier. So
Yes,
funny.
it's beautiful. It is beautiful. Debz, we talked a lot about what the experience is like being taken. When somebody thinks they're being taken but may not know, what are the signs that they could look for to see what is happening to them?
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever had that question been asked before. I can only speak from my own personal experience, but I will say that there's always kind of a feeling state. No, there is a feeling state. Like, some people even have a feeling like they can't move. They have, if they're asleep, for instance, and they wake up, they feel like they can't move their body. They have sleep paralysis, is what is the term. I don't have that, but there is a different feeling. It's almost like there's an electrical feeling in the air. It's different, and I get a little tingle in my spine before I have an encounter. Whether I'm being taken, as you like to put it, I call it being visited or visiting. There's just and things they just feel and look different, and then it's anybody's guess from there what's going to happen next. Who's going to show up, where are you going to be, how are you going to feel, and what are you going to experience. It's all just up in the air, maybe even literally.
I get that, and I can appreciate that. A lot of people see the grays. A lot of people say they've seen mantid beings, reptilians, humanoids. I've never seen reptilians or humanoids or mantids. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, they're getting a plethora of different sightings from different beings, you know, and I always kind of put it like this. I mean, the minute you connect to that side, it's like shooting the Kmart blue light special, blue light, about 1 billion miles into the universe, and it attracts everything. It's like moths to a flame. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, it's one good way to put it. It's actually a really good way to put it. I don't know. It's just like everything shifts. It's like you turn 90 degrees from where you were in your reality. And maybe that's why it's so scary for some people, because most people aren't prepared for it, or they never thought it would happen to them, or it's just odd. It's just everything is odd. Um, I can tell you an experience that happened to me one time after I was. I lead a big CE5 group, and I do retreats and stuff. But I used to do these monthly until I got too busy to be able to do them monthly. But this was about 3 years ago, and had finished a really great contact event out in the country where we could see with a dark sky, and we had lots of sightings and lots of cool things. Somebody got touched on the shoulder, all kinds of stuff. So everybody was pretty up, and I was really pumped afterwards. But the drive from where we were, for me, was about an hour and a half, and it was like 2 in the morning. So I'm driving out in the country, uh, no street lights or anything. Obviously, it's very rural. I'm driving on this highway, and suddenly I see what my mind, my brain, that always tries to fill this stuff in, and this is part of the contact experience for people usually. Your brain starts to fill in pieces and try to explain it away. What it looked like over on my right was a big car dealership with all the lights. I don't know if you know how it looked like a huge parking lot with a lot of lights, um, and very bright out in the middle of nowhere. And I thought, man, I'm not in town yet. I couldn't have gotten in town yet. I'm way out here. What is that? And then the next thing I know, my car is sitting on what feels like the deck of an aircraft carrier. And that's what it looked like, from 1 second to the next. And then I started having that feeling, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm having an encounter after my thing. This is cool on my way home. So I just relaxed, and then, went into a craft. I mean, went up into a craft. The whole thing just went up into a craft. I don't know what it looked like. I didn't see it. It just was up. I was still in my car, still had my radio playing, and saw some beings I'd never seen before. They were bluish iridescent. They didn't look human. Had, interactions. I don't remember much of the interactions, but I do remember what they look like. And this huge, enormous space. And then the next thing I know, I'm sitting in my driveway in my car, and the radio's playing. And it was all gone. And then I remembered that right before I saw what I thought was the car dealership, the big parking lot, the announcer on the radio had come on and said, "It's now 2:05 a.m., da 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 da." And I looked at my clock, and it was like 4 in the morning. And I had there was no remembering of how I got there. So it's really strange, but it's just, you start to notice things aren't in the right place for me, usually the first thing. Like, there should not have been a big car dealership out in the middle of the country. And that was my first clue.
So is that a screen memory, or is that something different?
I believe at the beginning it was a screen memory. It was something to get me. First, it was they're trying to get my attention. Like, we're over here, and I stayed in my car, and then suddenly my car was there on the deck of this thing, and then it went up. So I believe that I was always in my car through the whole thing. Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, that first thing, the car dealership, definitely had to be a screen memory.
Okay, Debz Shakti is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. ET contact taken by aliens is the topic. Deb, the idea that, there's so many millions of people just in North America who are having sightings and or encounters. Do you believe there is a difference between someone who is an experiencer and someone who is an eyewitness to a UFO or something along those lines?
Well, no, I call them all experiencers. If you've witnessed something, you're an experiencer. You've had an experience, you know? And more than likely, and here's something I find in my work a lot, people will say, gosh, I saw this thing up in the sky when I was 14 and it was really cool, but I've never had an experience since, but it just keeps bugging me. Like, what was it? And can we go in there and see if there's any more information? And we do, and there was a lot more information. There always is. Always. They've always had an encounter. If you see something, I don't want to say always because I don't know what the truth is. But from my experience, I can tell you more than likely you have a whole encounter, a whole interaction, and you just don't remember it. It's repressed. And then once we look at that and they get more comfortable, once we go deeper and deeper into the experience, then we find out they probably had, most of these people have had experiences their whole life. And that was kind of the bookmark. That's what I was saying about a bookmark or a post-it
Right.
note, right?
Is that just their realization?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a timing mechanism with these things. Like John Yost in our movie, he, as a 7-year-old boy, thought he saw the Japanese TV character Ultraman standing outside his bathroom one night when he was 7. And that niggled him his whole life. He knew there was much more to that, but he was scared but he was also curious. And so that was his bookmark. When the time was right, stuff started opening up, and not in a good way. Often it's like pushing down a spring. The more you push it down, the more inertia it collects until it just, everything explodes like a jack-in-the-box. And then you have to look at it. And, so that's what happens to people. But I call everyone an experiencer who has even in one sighting of a flashing light in the sky. That's an experience.
Okay, so what about missing time?
Yeah, well, time really doesn't exist, except for in our construct here, as a way to explain the context of how everything is put together in the third dimension. But, so when you have this experience, which might even be years long, I've had them that are years, maybe, lifetimes long, and then I come back and, a few seconds have passed. Everything's the same in my room. My husband's still talking about something, Missing time is just the differential between this physical reality and where you are and how long you are experiencing the encounter.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But I mean, the fact is, humans do have to deal with time.
Yeah.
This show is on a time limit. Life is on a time limit. Every hockey game is on a time limit. Basketball, classroom classroom studies are on a time limit.
Right.
Everything is amounted to time. And so when somebody all of a sudden goes missing for 4 hours or 4 days, like Travis Walton, this is where we question everything.
Right, and that's what I was going to bring up. That whole time concept, especially when you have missing time, it's another one of those bookmarks. It's something that's out of place. How could that have happened? How did I get from being 50 miles out from my house to my driveway, and an hour and a half had passed, but I it only seemed like I was gone for a few minutes, like the experience was only a few minutes. It's something to just kind of keep your mind pointing that way so you don't forget. Also, again, look at quantum physics. If you're traveling at the speed of light or greater, um, your time where you are in your experience slows way down. The faster you go, the slower time becomes. And yet, the people who you left behind on Earth are experiencing time the way they normally do. So by the time you come back, they may have aged. That's a problem that we think about with our space program. Like, we send somebody, out into the solar system in some futuristic ship, and when they come back, everybody they know is dead. I look at that movie Interstellar was a good example of that. So missing time is just a piece of that concept, I think.
I get that. Okay. So what about the idea that when you are taken, there are certain times when it gets physical, whether they leave physical traces on your body, like little 3-dotted triangles,
Mhm.
whether it's scratches on your body that disappear hours later.
Mhm.
That's a trippy one I still haven't solved.
Yeah,
Okay.
me
Or
either.
whether it's dropping you back in your bed, where I remember waking up one night, coming out of it, and there I was 3 feet above my bed, falling back
Wow.
into my bed.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, this is physical.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you're experiencing in your physical body sometimes, and I have no doubt of that. I get the little 3-dotted triangles sometimes. More than often, though, this is funny. My marks come in the shape of a heart. Bizarre as that sounds, they're almost always a heart. Um, but you know, I work with a lot of people who have had implants, who have all kinds of marks on their bodies, um, bruising, all kinds of stuff. And I don't think, I don't know. Again, the beings are as variable as we are. So I used to say, I believe all ETs have to be benevolent. They have to have evolved past um, being, warlike or aggressive or violent to have gained the knowledge to travel at faster than light speed. But now I just believe that, we live in an infinitely variable construct or layers of construct, consciousness itself, and it expresses in infinite ways. And so, who knows why some of them do the things they do. But I do know this, John talks about this a lot too in his talks, that, we think nothing as, maybe we're zoologists, or we're biologists, and we go out and we're trying to save a species in the rainforest. We think nothing of swooping down in a helicopter and capturing, you know, um, a nearly extinct species creature and taking it up in a net up in the sky and flying it around, getting it to a hospital, sedating it, and then putting a tag or a chip in its ear and X-raying it and MRIing it and all this and taking its blood and taking its urine and then eventually flying it back and setting it back down in its place so that we can track it so that we can help the species not go extinct as we study it. Could that not be what's happening to us? But that, let's say it's a wildebeest or something. That wildebeest is going to be terrified more than likely and go tell all his friends about his terrifying experience and doesn't understand why it happened.
That makes sense because we do the exact same thing to dogs, to monkeys, to ants, to rats, to
Mm-hmm.
mice, to every
Mm-hmm.
sort of animal on the planet.
Yeah,
We
and
do.
sometimes it's for benevolent reasons, like what I just cited. Sometimes it's just because people are jerks, you know? want to
Well, I
scare
mean,
you.
and I understand that science is science too,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
but and I get that part of being taken. I do. I mean, hey, we can't complain if we're doing the exact same thing. It's the way I
Right.
look at it. I mean, I might be wrong on that,
No,
but
I think
that's
we'd be hypocritical if we didn't. Right? If we can't see ourselves in some of that situation and say, well, hell, I do that. Do I think, even Carl Sagan said in his book Contact, one of his characters said, you know, would you think very much about when you're walking around stepping on an anthill, the consequences of that to those beings in that anthill? More than often not. You don't even think about it. You're just walking around. But that whole civilization you just wiped out without thought.
we got 3 minutes to go here before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Debz Shakti is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. A lot of people claim communication, that they could hear telepathic messages, or that they're getting things from the stars, or they run around, I am Pleiadian. What are you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we hear it. To
Mm-hmm.
me, when I hear people talk about I am Pleiadian, or I am Anunnaki, or I am, some sort of alien being,
Mm-hmm.
to me, as someone who takes this topic seriously, it dampens what we're trying to accomplish here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I'm in the right for thinking that way, Deb, but I have a hard time trying to get the people that we need to listen and take this subject
Yeah.
seriously to understand that, we have hybrid people who are claiming to be hybrid Pleiadians running around the planet trying to make everybody vegan and listen to Kumbaya songs, right? I mean, I say that in jest, but it's hard.
Yeah.
We're doing a hard job here, and
Yeah.
every little piece like that really dampens the subject of being taken seriously.
Yeah. But there's two sides to that coin too. Again, I take everybody at face value. If they tell me they're Pleiadian and they're here to help with the hybrid program, I let them talk and I ask really good questions because I want to get information from that person. Sometimes it plays out where I can tell they're maybe having some wishful thinking, but I believe that's where our disconnect is with between experiencers and science. That's where the whole tinfoil hat paradigm comes from. They laugh at us because what we're saying doesn't match up with what science that we have can prove. And that's the problem. Science looks at things from third dimensional scientific method, which works great here on Earth in the third dimension, but it doesn't do caca for everything else, which is most of the cosmos. We don't have the way to measure interdimensional time or space or travel. We don't know how to prove telepathy is real, although it's starting to be pretty evident.
We have 30 more minutes with you tonight, and I know we're going to be jam-packed with a lot of more information regarding this subject of what it's like to be taken by aliens. What's it like to be on a craft? What's it like to fly the craft?
Mm-hmm.
What's it like to do other things on the craft? Lots going on here in the next half hour with Debz Shakti. Her website, Debz with a Z or Z if you're in Canada. Shakti, SHAKITI.com. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. Normally, I don't really talk about the show subject, but there's so much to say. We do have to move on. But I did want to say this with you, and at least, and this is my personal belief. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm okay with that. I disagree with you a little bit in regards to what we were just talking about. Because
Okay.
the one thing that I have learned through my experiences is that everything has an energy pattern.
Hmm.
Everyone has an energy pattern.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I like, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm better than anybody else or I'm always right or anything, because that isn't it whatsoever. But there's a lot of these people out there that when you look at their photo or you concentrate on their energy, you can completely tell they're full of shit.
Right. And
That they're not
there
a
is that.
Pleiadian, they're not a psychic, they're not a whatever.
They
You
want
know,
to feel special. They want attention. They want to feel special. Um, who knows? Again, people's personal agenda are as variable as there are a number of people. But yeah, I can read the energy too. But I always listen because there's a reason why they and I are talking. There's always a reason for every encounter that I have, even if it's with, a person who's, just, and maybe they believe it for themselves, and, it just depends. But the ones who, I've had some pretty wacky sounding things from people, and man, when we get in there and we get down to the nitty gritty, there's details and there's technical stuff, and there's often really good stuff that comes through that these people could not have in their brains,
and
and so
and I
that's
understand.
interesting. But
And I can appreciate that, and I apologize for cutting you off, but I'm saying from a level of perspective where a show like mine is trying to bring some sort of reality, some sort of
context,
understanding,
yeah.
context to
Mm-hmm.
the subject, that it's not
That's right.
about a bunch of tinfoil. It's
Mm.
not about a bunch of, I mean, here's the media standpoint from working in a newsroom. The media standpoint of somebody who is a UFO witness or an ET contactee is someone who works the night shift at a gas station or at Walmart with no dental plan, never made more than minimum wage. The government's coming for your guns, and the reptilians are right around the corner. I believe every conspiracy theory out there.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, that is
Yeah.
the media. That is the media understanding of what we do. They're not seeing the Dr. Gary Nolans. They're not seeing the
Mm.
Debz Shaktis or the Science Bobs or the John Yost or the Dave Scotts.
I
They're
know.
not seeing those people. And the more we have those people out there, and I granted, hey, if that's their story, I'm willing to listen. But I'm also ready to say, you know,
Yeah. I just let them go. What I like to focus on, Dave, is getting more and more of the people, at least the people I work with, who are in a different uh, market demographic, shall we say, than those people, to speak out and to be more public. That was part of what our movie was about, to show, hey, real people who you actually know and respect are having these experiences, and they're not just trying to get attention. I'm talking about, you know, high up military people, people in some of the uh, higher level CEO positions of giant companies. People like that don't like to talk about this stuff because they don't want to topple their own paradigm. You put yourself on the line out there, and you're going to lose in our culture. But it's changing. It's starting to shift. Look at the people coming forward now from some of the deep state programs who have just had it. I mean, you know, people like
oh, I
Science
get you.
Bob. You know,
I get you. Hi, gorgeous Kim Jellen. Good to see you. No, I understand you, and that's why I love the movie.
thank
Okay,
you.
because it was real people having extraordinary experiences.
Mhm.
And finally we actually get a documentary that doesn't have the same 12 people on it like every
Yeah.
other documentary, which is nice.
Thank you.
Hold on right there. Thank you to Big Tex, John, Louis times two, Mike, Dry Toast, Derek, and Deb for the super chats. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. What's it like to be taken by aliens? That's why we got Debz Shakti here with us tonight. She is one of the go-to people when it comes to this subject. And Deb, we have you till the top of the hour, and I wanted to shift focus here because there's a lot of people who claim they've been on spacecraft. Whether it's for some sort of abduction, whether it's a learning experience, whether it's for operations, whether it's for human-on-human contact, whether it's they're flying the ship.
Yeah.
How do we know that this is actually happening?
Well, until it happens to you, you don't. But it's happened to me, and it's quite the experience. But people are always second guessing. Even the experiencers they're maybe the true experiencers. We were talking about who are the true ones and who aren't a while ago. But true experiencers often get what we call imposter syndrome, where they just start thinking, no, did I just make that up? Did I dream that? That can't be real. But little by little, you start to keep getting things coming back in your memory. Little things start to put themselves together and you realize it's real. I can tell you it's not like any other experience. It's just different. It's not like what you would think it would be like. It's not like what you have seen in the movies. I'll definitely tell you that.
Okay, so those who have had that type of experience, what effects go on? Because we hear all the time, and we're learning more that whether it's Rendlesham Forest or even people that are being studied today by scientists, that if you're getting close to a craft, there's radiation that comes off of that.
Mm-hmm.
People. I mean, Stefan Michalek from the Falcon Lake
Yeah.
incident back in 1967. He was
Yeah.
having burns, chemical burns, show up on his body years after
Years after.
an
Yeah.
incident.
Yeah.
So how
Although,
come somebody who's taken doesn't get that radiation?
well, again, it just depends. There's the variables are infinite about who they're interacting with and what they're interacting with. I think, but also I believe that the experience collectively shifts with the way people evolve. Um, we've talked about this before, where back in caveman days, they explained their encounters one way because, and they called space people or ETs gods. There were gods, like sky gods or ocean gods that came up. And so the craft were described as, chariots or giant birds or dragons. And then later on, they became flying saucers because we were just getting into learning how to build things that flew in the sky. And they were mechanical, they rotated, they had lights, they had rivets, all these things. Now, when you ask somebody what a spacecraft looked like that they saw, they describe it in many different ways. it shifts, but the whole experience shifts. I think the collective consciousness experience shifts as we evolve. So I I can't think of anybody I know who has had a radiation burn or radiation effects in the last 20-25 years that I've interacted with who have been close to a craft. And yet you do think of like Jim Pendleton in the Rendlesham forest experience. You know, he touched that craft and downloaded binary code in his brain. And he didn't know binary code. And later on, he just wrote pages and pages and pages of ones and zeros, and they decrypted it. You know, how does that happen? I can't tell you for sure why we don't have that happening to these people now, other than maybe we have shifted into a different gear of experience.
All right. So why would they let certain people fly a ship? Now, the youngest that I have known about this was a 12-year-old girl in my town.
Wow.
Her mom actually brought her up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her the question. I said, what is it like? I said,
Yeah.
where do you go? And she goes, you could go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what's it like sitting in the seat? And she's like, it's connected to your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, are you scared? She goes, no. You know, I mean, I'm not going to get a lot of answers out of a 12-year-old.
Right.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Well, she pretty much explained my experience. It does. It's like you merge with it. I don't know if it's a bioengineered thing or if it's just a different form. I think it's just a different form of consciousness, but it does merge with your own consciousness. And we're getting close to that. Maybe we already have that, where a pilot can fly a jet with his mind. I think I saw that on a program not long ago where they're perfecting that. So anything's possible, but it is a beautiful, thrilling experience to be able to, I don't know, have some fun with something like that. It's not for giggles. It's definitely not. It's serious stuff. And I tend to believe that 12-year-old girl was telling the truth, because 12-year-old kids usually can't make that kind of stuff up. You know, that's just I don't know. That's just a little too far out there.
So how come certain people get the opportunity and others don't?
I really don't know. For me, I always had a desire to, just because I grew up in my early years. It was a military family. My dad was in the military, and we lived right near the air base, and I was always into aircraft and rocket ships and everything once the space program started. So I always had a desire to do that. So maybe my desire was so great that that I was able to take advantage of that. Often I tell people, if you want something, did you ever, have you tried asking? Simply,
I moved north and got a big property or a big backyard waiting for the landing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't
Okay.
happened yet. So I have been putting it out there because I'll be honest with you, like for me, I'm tired of the nighttime stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I've put it out to the universe many a time where I basically said, look, you want me? Come get me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay to go. Put your ship in the backyard behind SOR headquarters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'll
let's
walk
do
on.
this.
I'll
Yeah.
walk on. Let's do this mano y mano.
Yeah.
All right. And let's go for a ride. We got a few stops to make because we got to go to Tim Hortons. We got to go to Taco Bell because I know somewhere there's a 24-hour Taco Bell. Okay. And I'm going to be hungry, but no, but on a serious note, I'm somebody who is put it out there.
Yeah.
Would I
I
walk on? Yeah. I've done enough in this lifetime, right?
Right. I really don't have an answer for that, other than it brings to mind a couple of people who are very famous. Who I remember, the great John Mack, who's somebody I looked up to as a hypnotherapist, and it really put his whole life and his whole life's work on the line for this, for simply doing what I do. And he dearly wanted to have an encounter, worked with people, thousands and thousands of people, and never had an encounter himself. And the great Jacques Vallée, you know, maybe he has by now, but I can remember for decades him saying, I would give anything to have my own encounter. In Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Francois Truffaut played the character was based on Jacques Vallée. And in the movie, he says, at the end to Richard Dreyfuss, I'm so envious of you, Mr. Neary. I'd give anything to do what you're getting ready to do, as he goes and walks into the ship. So why do some people get to do certain things than others? I have no idea. But I believe it's all little pieces of a puzzle that we will all be able to see the full picture of, and very soon. I feel like it's very soon that things are going to start making way more sense, and that it will be undeniable, and it's going to blow things apart. So buckle up, because when people finally do realize this is a real thing, everybody does, where it's undeniable and it cannot be hidden anymore or covered up. Our world's going to change rapidly, and it's going to cause some stuff. It's not going to go down easily. People who are in power don't want to go down easily. But it will be for the better. I truly believe it. I have to believe it.
I don't believe in disclosure.
No,
Many,
never.
many,
We're
many
not
others.
going to get. No, we're not.
So let's talk about that. I believe we are in a confirmation movement.
Mm-hmm.
But there's too many secrets and too many potential lawsuits that could take place if the truth came out. Where do you stand on that?
Oh, I'm with you. Absolutely with you. I do not believe any government or, power structure is ever going to come right out and say, oh, sorry, we lied to you all this time and it's all real, and here's the facts, all the facts. Nobody is going to share all those things. But again, the disclosure comes from us. The disclosure comes from the millions and millions of people who know what they experienced. And you can't take that away. Direct experience is the best teacher. And, the more they lie, the more they try to cover up, the more ridiculous it becomes. It's becoming like a Keystone Cop kind of movie. It's ridiculous, all of the things that are happening. I'm tired of it. I want it to just stop. But, people are going to scramble as long as they can until something happens. I truly believe something fairly catastrophic is going to come to very much of a head, where people are going to have to wake up and say, wow, we all need to work together, and this is real, and you guys are, full of cow hockey, and you're no longer in power. But
who makes that call? Who makes that call, though?
I don't know. I think the collective does. I truly think something very unique is going to happen. Something that we haven't experienced before as a global collective. And I think the greater amount of people are going to be in that collective. And it's not going to be some kind of bored mind thing. It's not going to be some sort of New World Order thing. It's going to be individuals finally waking up and agreeing that they're going to use all of the facts, all of the things that they have gathered together individually and putting it together to build something new. And these people will not be in power. But in that interim place where they're trying to put a new structure in place, it could be rocky. I'm not saying that to put fear in people. I'm just saying, change usually doesn't come real comfortably, but change usually comes with powerful growth. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Us growing up as a culture, as a planet. But who has the right to make that call? No one individual or one group does. The collective will make that call, I believe.
The collective being
the greater number of the everyday people who are just tired of all the BS. You, me, that 12-year-old girl, and people like Jacques Vallée, Ray Hernandez, Science Bob. All these people coming together, working together, is going to change it. Nobody's going to say, this is what happens. We're just going to start working together and making better changes, better choices, and that's what changes everything.
I can believe that. The power of the people still in some form does exist.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen like, in the day the earth stood still, where the cosmic police come down and say, you children better get your stuff together, or we're going to, put some governors on the way you do things. I don't believe that. I believe that we are being prodded, pushed, poked, and shocked into growing up so that we will make wise choices. And I believe that it's higher versions of ourselves doing the prodding. But that's just my take on that.
Okay, so if it is of our future that this is happening, okay, that it is our future humanoid selves coming down here, what do they want from us? What are they looking for?
Well, here's and here's where it gets woo. Some of the other stuff I do. I'm also a channeler, and the biggest group I channel is called the Teachers, or the Star Teachers, or we call them that. They don't use a name, but they say that they are us having evolved, to a higher reality. Eventually, they say that that humans do exactly what I just said. They all become a powerful collective. They all start to be coherent. They all start to work together and build a better world. And then, we quickly develop technology where we can move off world and go explore other solar systems, and then other dimensions. And eventually we're not humanoid anymore. And that's who they are. And they're just, their reason for contacting us and coming through verbally through using my voice box, I guess, and other people's, I guess, is to remind us that we do this. Because remember, it's all happening now in one place. It's already happened. We're just experiencing a little further back in the DVD, if you will. If you fast forward, you're going to see that. And whether you take the DVD out, put it on the shelf, and then put it back in 20 years later, if you fast forward to the spot where we do it, it's happening. It's always there. But their reason for reaching out and prodding us and giving us clues and giving us messages is because if we don't accomplish that, they don't exist. Do you see?
You're way too deep for me at times. Way too deep. I love it though. I do.
This is how weird I get at 1 a.m. my time. So
Okay, so the idea that many of us don't know we've been taken, many of us don't know that we've had an experience, maybe right through our lives, maybe it's brand new.
Mhm.
What would you say to people who say, I don't believe this happened to me? I don't believe that this is going on, but I got some really weird dreams that are happening that I just don't quite get. We got about 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, I interact with those people all the time, and in fact, even family members. So I get that people say that all the time, and compassionately, I love them and say that's fine if that's where you are. I believe you because what they believe is their life. I can't take that away from them, and I'm not going to try to change the way they believe. Just as I wouldn't want somebody to try to change the way I believe. I feel we all have that right. But you can't convince people of something that they don't want to be convinced of. But I'll tell you what, I have a client right now who's 87 years old and just now starting to question some of the things that happened to him when he was a child. And we've gone in there and looked, and he has had no interest in any of this his whole life. And suddenly he had a reason to look at it, coming for another reason, and it's all unfolding. Now, how do you explain that? It's wild, and he's having to deal with it, and he's saying, I've never been interested in this. I would have never thought I'd be involved in anything like this. But I'm so glad I'm finding out even at this late date.
I think that's incredible.
Yeah, he's one of my most fun people to deal with.
I'm going to ask you, with 2 minutes to go here, what is your message for people wanting to learn about this, whether they're an experiencer or not?
Well, if they're an experiencer or they think they are or they have questions, talk to somebody. Don't just hold it in. Don't just think you're the only person who has these feelings or weird dreams or whatever. Go out there and find. There are so many groups there. You don't have to talk to me. You can talk to anyone. There's so many people to talk to. If you don't know who to talk to, contact me and I will point you to somebody in your area, even groups or fun people. For people who don't think they're an experiencer or anything, but just have questions about it, hit me up or hit anyone up in your area. It's a huge conversation now that's happening on our planet. As I said before, you can't open up your internet browser now, but that there is not at least one story about UFOs or ET contact. It is a global conversation. Get in on the conversation and you'll be so glad you did. It's fascinating, if nothing else. Gives you something new to talk about.
How can people reach you and find more information?
Oh, right there on my little screen is www.debzshakti.com, DEBZSHAKTI.com, and all social media platforms I go by that name. So it's really easy to find me. I have a YouTube channel, and all of my contact information is on my website. So you can hit me up any way you like. Maybe days before I can answer because I get lots and lots of people writing to me, but I always answer at some point, and I love hearing from you.
And I promise you, I will get my story to you and we'll figure it out. What's happening, old Davy? We'll get it done.
Davey, I hope so because I love you.
Much love to you, Debz. Debz Shakti, everybody. Coming up next, Steve Stockton is here with another great story from Among the Missing. Then Big Tex is going to join us for the Cryptid Report. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. Much love, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave. I just love coming on the show. You're
Oh, we love you
wonderful.
here. We love you here.
Thank you so much. And by the way, I love your haircut. That's cool.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Thank you. The hair gel is out of it, but that's okay.
It's very Billy Idol, which is awesome. I love it.
It'll be good for Vegas
I wish I
next.
could see you in Vegas. I have a very interesting reason why I can't come. I'll tell you privately, but yeah, I'm so jelly
Next year.
that
Next year.
next year I will.
Next
Thanks
year.
again.
You take care, my friend.
Thank you. Much love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, there's Debz Shakti, everybody. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll get things going in the next one. All right. So who's getting excited for Vegas? Yeah. It's going to be a good time. A nice little break. I'm pumped up about it. I am pumped up about it, man. I know Kira's pumped. She's been giving me the countdown. Of course, Skip to my loo. Think Dave will notice what? I don't know. Thank you tonight to Louis ×2, Big Text, John, Mike, Dry Toast, Derek, and Deb for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Subscribe. We like new subscribers. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fylth. Fylth is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we have another creepy story from Steve Stockton and his YouTube channel, Among the Missing.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Hello, all my wandering wanderers. Steve Stockton here with you from Among the Missing. Tonight on ATM on SOR, bring you the strange tale of the Yuba County Five. Also known as the Yuba City Five, they were a group of 5 young men from the Yuba Sutter area of Northern California who went missing in February 1978. The group's disappearance remains a mystery to this day and has been the subject of extensive media coverage and speculation. The 5 men, all between the ages of 24 and 32, were all either mentally disabled or suffered from mild intellectual disabilities. They had been attending a basketball game at California State University, Chico, and were on their way home when they disappeared. Their car was found abandoned in a remote area of the Plumas National Forest, more than 50 miles from their homes, with no sign of the men. The Yuba County Five consisted of Gary Mathias, Jack Hewitt, Theodore Ted Ware, William Sterling, and Jack Madruga. Mathias had recently been discharged from the Army due to schizophrenia. Hewitt, Ware, Sterling, and Madruga were all known to have mild intellectual disabilities. After the group's disappearance, a massive search was launched involving hundreds of volunteers and law enforcement agencies from all across Northern California. The search was complicated by the rugged terrain of the Plumas National Forest, which is located in the Sierra Nevada range. The search went on for several months, but no trace of the men was found. But then in June 1978, a group of motorcyclists discovered a pickup truck which belonged to the group, abandoned on a remote Forest Service road deep in the woods. Inside the truck were the remains of Ted Weir, who had apparently died of starvation and exposure. The location of the truck was more than 20 miles from where the group's car had been found months earlier. Over the next few months, the remains of 3 more of the men were found, all of them within a few miles of the abandoned truck. But the body of Gary Mathias was never found. The remains of the other men showed no signs of foul play, and it was determined that they had died also of exposure and starvation. The circumstances surrounding the men's disappearance and deaths have been the subject of much speculation over the years. The theory that the group became lost in the woods and died of starvation and exposure is the most probable. However, there was warm clothing and blankets, as well as food and water nearby, had they chose to use it. Another theory is that the men were attacked and killed by someone or something in the remote forest, but again, there is no evidence of foul play. Some have also speculated that the group may have even been the victims of a government conspiracy or an alien abduction, but these theories are highly unlikely. The case has been the subject of several television shows such as Unsolved Mysteries, documentaries, and several books, including Out of Bounds, What Happened to the Yuba County Five by my friend Drew Hurst Beeson, which I consider to be the definitive work on the subject. Despite the extensive media coverage, the case remains unsolved to this day, and the mystery of what happened to the Yuba County Five continues to fascinate and intrigue people around the world. Well, there you have it. What do you think of this strange case? I look forward to your comments in the chat. Till next time, I'm Steve Stockton. Join me on Among the Missing.
And thank you, Steve, for another great story. And we always love it when people head on over from our show, hit subscribe on his YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Among the Missing. Yeah, he's got hundreds of stories just like that and growing quickly. From the missing to the mysterious. Filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report tonight is Big Tex. Here we go. Super Duke, the Cryptid Report with Super Duke. My man Big Tex with the baddest beard in the land, hanging on out with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And Tex, it's always good to have you around here, summoned around these parts to talk a little monster action. Get you to unmute your mic there, my friend.
How's that?
Hey, that works. Look at that. There you are. There you are. Amazing how that works. So I got to ask you, the last time we had you on about a month ago, you were talking about this area where you are researching where there's tigers running around. Tigers. Oh my God. Have you had any tiger sightings?
No, unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to get back in the field yet. But I am going this month, so we shall see.
Well, I have been at my gifting site area for the last 2 weekends now. Nothing's moved. Nothing ever moves. But I'll tell you, now that the snow is melted, it's sure good to be back down there, man. It's sure good. There's a level of comfortability. And it was funny, and I don't know if you've experienced this or not, but the first day we went out there, everything was normal, everything very peaceful. Okay, felt good. It was kind of like, oh, it's so nice to be back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the closer I started to walk to that area where we had the sighting, I started getting a headache. And when I came out of that area, my headache seemed to disappear.
Interesting.
Have you had that happen before?
Not the headache so much. I've gotten a queasy feeling, and it's like, but once I get out, like like you said, once you get out and move out of the area, you feel better. So I've had that happen. I don't know if it's just coincidence. I don't know. It happens a little too often for me to say it's coincidence. And when I say it happens too often, I mean not with me. It happens too often from a lot of people that research, from what I'm told, like yourself. And maybe it's them going, no, kids are napping, you need to get out of here. I don't know. But it certainly seems, because we've been looking at different types of readings in our areas, and it's really strange because we've gotten radiation readings that come and go. We've gotten both infrasound and ultrasound readings in the area. We've gotten electromagnetic readings in the area. So it's, I don't know. Well, I don't know what's going on. And I don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know if it's the Sasquatch, or if there's something else at play here. Something's going on. But the radioactive readings is what really blew me away.
How often is that happening?
Well, we've only had that piece of equipment, the Geiger counter, out there in the field with us once. But the strange thing was we was up in the cemetery where I suppose we had the tiger encounter. And it was an area maybe 2 foot, in diameter at a certain grave. Okay. We got that reading that night. We came back during the next day, and it was gone. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, how is radioactive material moving, in the middle of a dead gun graveyard? It makes zero sense. And if it was the stone or something like that, why would it have gone away? If it was solar energy triggering something, I know this is way out there. If it was solar energy triggering something, why was it there at night and not during the day? I don't know. It's just.
What is the biggest part of this Sasquatch mystery that you can't understand?
To me, it is why we experience so much paranormal stuff along with it. Because I believe they're a physical creature. I'm on the fence if they have these supernatural abilities or not. And the only reason I say that is because I haven't experienced it yet enough to where I can say, okay, this was a Sasquatch talking to me or whatever. Okay. I haven't seen one cloak. And I think that, to me, that's the biggest mystery. Why is it so intertwined? Is it the same thing? Are they, is it another entity that accompanies them, or is it something that they're doing? The mystery that they exist is solved as far as I'm concerned. And so figuring out that piece of the puzzle, I think, will go a long way for me. Because I almost every time I go out, I experience a little bit of both, and I'm like, what is going on? What are these critters that I'm dealing with? Are we dealing with something that, and I hope it's not true, are we dealing with something that's a little more nefarious in nature that is just hanging around these things and having fun at our expense? Does that make sense?
That is what I find very strange about the phenomena. And like we were just talking with Debz, and I know you were listening in,
Mm-hmm.
the phenomena seems to react to everybody differently. So the experiences you are having in the forest aren't necessarily going to be the experiences that your fellow investigators on your team have in that exact same area.
Yep.
You know, like, why can you go to an area and one night you're feeling like you shouldn't be there at all, that there's something scary and looming just beyond the depths of your sight lines, and the next time you go there, you're tracking down Bigfoot.
Yep.
And everything is peaceful, and it's very humbling to be there.
You know, I've gotten to the point now. I don't call myself sensitive. I've been told I am, and it's like the whole abduction thing that I've recently found out about. I don't know where to put it. Okay, still getting my mind wrapped around it. Haven't came to terms with it, but I do know, and I just call it gut feelings. Have all my life, but I have determined that when I'm going into an area, I mean, as soon as my feet hit the ground, the first thing I do when I go in an area is I'll get out and I take a look around, and I call it getting the vibe of the place. I want to know if I'm alone or not. And I've been able to identify three different feelings, as it were. And one is I get a certain feeling, and I know I'm going to run into pretty much just critters. Okay. Then I get another feeling where it's not just critters. There's paranormal stuff that's around. It's a different vibe. And then there's another one that there's absolutely nothing. It's just a walk in the woods. So I don't know what's going. It's obvious that something is at play here. What it is, I don't know what I'm picking up on. And I wish I did, but going on to your point about it, the experiences you had may not be the same one that somebody standing right next to you will have. We had that. We had that happen. There was 5 of us up there one night at the cemetery, and 3 of us were getting EVPs and the heaviness and their lights were going off at the same time. 30 yards away from us, Gary Spikes Jr. and Sr. were seeing cat-like entities jump down out of the trees and go up on 2 legs and approaching them. And every time they hit them with a flashlight, they would disappear. They turn the flashlight or the spotlight off, and they'd be right back where they were. So, is it a single entity that's manifesting these experiences to each people or group of people that's different because they know that maybe this would get to you a little bit more than it would if it was these other people? Am I making sense here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think a lot of people have to understand, Tex, that when we go out, where you're going out in your area or I'm going out in my area, the chances of seeing something, even a wild animal, and they're around, are slim to none. They are slim to none, depending on your area.
Right.
Okay. Like, for instance, our area is very open. We go there. There's a whole set of animal tracks brand new animal tracks every time we're there. You know, I found a giant pile of wolf scat the other day. I'd never seen that before. But you could sure tell they were enjoying the deer meat.
Yeah.
Okay. But the reason why I'm saying that is the forest is ever evolving. It's ever changing.
Mhm.
It's, even though it looks the same, it's never the same. And, you know, going out there and seeing a deer or a mountain lion or a wolf or even a bird, for instance, is very tough. It's very difficult. You know, it's because the forest is, and Mother Nature continues to change. So when you add in a creature like a Sasquatch or something else, this is what makes things a lot more difficult. And it's not just like going out there where every time you go out there, you're going to find footprints, or you're going to find hair samples, or new shredding on a tree, or a tree that's been pulled out and stuck in the ground and the roots are now up in the air. You're not going to see something like that all the time.
Right. And what's odd is the place I research is a wildlife sanctuary. I don't have issues seeing wildlife, and if I do, I know there's something up. And I've had that happen out there. I've been out there, and we'll talk about it. You know, when we're in camp, it's like the absence of wildlife is very, very noticeable, because most of the time when you drive down just a main road, you can see pigs run across the road, deer on the side of the road, raccoons, possums, you name it. I mean, it's just all over the place. But when we notice a lack of wildlife, especially birds, if there's an absence of birds, we know something's up. And 9 times out of 10, it is not. We don't feel like it's Sasquatch. We feel like it's maybe something else around. Now, I did have an experience that was really strange, because there was quite a few of us sitting in camp one night. And you know how things just go quiet, right?
Yeah.
Dead silent. Well, this started happening on one side of camp. And the camp was, it was in a circle, you know, and it was like a wave in a crowd at a football stadium. That's how the silence went around camp. And it would get silent and then would start back up. Silent, start back up. All the way around camp it did this. That was one of the weirdest things that I've ever seen happen. We did have activity that night, as far as we think it was probably Sasquatch. I mean, we can't really be sure because we didn't have any what they call Class A sightings or anything like that. But we did, you know, hear things walking around and that type of stuff. But I want to touch on something that you had touched on. You said something about your gifting area, and you put things out there and it doesn't move, right?
Yes.
What the weird thing that we're happening is that we'll gift or bait, however you want to look at it, and the same thing happens. And it's not just that you don't get any like possible Sasquatch messing with it.
Hold that thought. Let's go to break, because I think you're onto a big point here. Big Tex filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report tonight. Glad to have him. His beard is on par, ready to go, looking for Sasquatch. Spaced Out Radio continues the final half hour next. By the way, to our YouTube channel, I don't remember a week and a half ago, I did my Dave 101 on Logan Paul and that video. Well, today Logan Paul came out saying that he does 100% have a copy of a 1995 UFO video, and he's afraid to release it. Pretty cool, eh? He mentioned that on his podcast. He's not sure. He needs more convincing. He's trying to be skeptical.
You know, in today's atmosphere, I wouldn't be afraid to release any UFO video. You know, that's just me. Of course, I don't deal with them as much as you do that I know of.
I don't think, if I ever had even that smoking gun Patterson Gimlin film,
Right.
I don't think I would even release it, dude. If I had that video, I don't think I would release it.
You know, I honestly, as far as Sasquatch goes, I don't know. I have went back and forth about what I would do if I had something like that. You know, I will say this: when we got the handprints, I was giddy as a cool girl. I couldn't wait for everybody to see it. You know, and I haven't gotten any visits by men in black, strange phone calls in the night, anything like that. And I think, honestly, that that's some of the most definitive evidence that's been brought to light in a long time. But maybe it's not what I think it is.
No, you know what? For me, and a lot of people may not agree with me. Okay. I look at what Patterson and Gimlin went through.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine that your grandchildren are still tortured by this video. Your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, where your children receive death threats or phone calls yelling at you, your daddy's a liar, your daddy's a faker, he's a hoaxer, your daddy is this, your daddy is that. It's 56 years, almost. 56 years of torture that family has gone through. And people call them liars for saying the video is real. And when they finally had enough and said, fine, we faked it. Is that what you want to hear? Then they play the aha, gotcha card. Say, we knew it all along. Right? And you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
Well, and that is a very true statement. And I've always said that, you know, no matter what you get, if you get a blob squatch, everybody's going to say, well, that's just a blob squatch, blah, 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 ain't nothing pareidolia. And if you get something very, very definitive, first thing everybody does is holler at you about it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of that comes from other researchers, which they should have your back, you know?
Yeah. I agree, Tex. And you know, one of the issues, like if I had that video, there are certain people that I would give it to.
Right.
Okay. There are certain people who I would trust with it, but
Right.
it ever getting out in public, not at all. Not in today's internet world. Right. And I've told this story before. We got like 30 seconds. I've got a video of a fairy that my daughter caught on tape. Okay. Nobody would believe it. Everybody would call it a bug. Problem is, they don't understand that in the middle of winter here in Canada, when it's minus 25 Celsius outside, bugs aren't flying.
Right.
There's no bugs inside. But if I put it out there, all the armchair quarterbacks would say, you're lying.
Yeah.
So I don't release it. Here we go, by the way.
Okay.
Here we go, the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Filling in for Big Super Duke on the Cryptid Report, we have Big Tex hanging on out. Tex, it's always good to have you back. And right before the break, you were telling us about the sightings and what you see, what you don't see. Fill us in on that.
Well, you know, it's when you have, okay, I've had 2 daylight sightings, and I've had 1 nighttime sighting that I'm convinced that nobody can convince me that it wasn't a physical creature. Okay. But just about every other thing that I've seen at night, there's that possibility that it may have been a paranormal thing. All right. And so I can't go, oh, well, you know, I saw a dark figure in the woods. It's automatically a Sasquatch. I try not to go there. Sometimes it's hard. Don't get me wrong. But getting back to the gifting thing.
Yes.
You were saying that you don't have, you put stuff out there and it doesn't move. See, we're running into the same thing. And what's really, really odd, and tell me if this is the same thing you're getting. It's not that Sasquatch isn't bothering it. Nothing is bothering it. And there's no reason in the world why you have good smelling stuff out there that a raccoon will ransack your camp going through to get, and they don't even touch it. Now, there's another group, Red River cryptids that we know, and they've had the same thing happen with stuff they put out a half a mile deep into the brush. And so that makes absolutely no sense. That you can leave something out in the woods for a week and absolutely nothing touches it.
The only action we have had at ours is we have this little foam basketball out there that some rodent has been kind of gnawing on. But the only other thing that has really moved in that area is the mirror. So we put a mirror up there, and for those of you who are on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the photo I'm going to show. It's of a purple mirror. And Tex, I'll show you this. What do you see different here?
Did y'all move it under the handle?
The handle of the mirror.
Is underneath the.
Okay, so this was hanging on a tree.
Oh.
Okay. And so for our radio audience members, it's like your little dollar store mirror that you hold in your hand and you look at it and do your hair or makeup or whatever you want to do with it. Okay. And we had it hanging on a tree branch, like a twig type branch, but we push it right to the end to where the tree was. We go back a week later, and the mirror is facing mirror face down, but the handle of the mirror is tucked underneath grass.
Yeah. That
Now,
was purposely done.
see, the only way I could really think about this is there were no fingerprints or markings on the mirror. But if it was a deer or something like that, the deer walks through, takes a look, kind of snaps the branch because it's never seen itself before, probably
Right.
freaks out, the branch snaps, and as it's moving back, as the mirror falls, maybe it kicks back the mirror a little bit to go under. That's what I'm thinking. Right? I don't know. But that's the trippy part about that photo, is that it was tucked in. But
Right.
none of our toys, and it's funny because Robin McCrae knows the toys we have out there. She says they like them, but none of them moved. None of them.
Either that or they put them right back where they found them.
I don't know.
I mean, you have to, and that's what I keep telling people. If these critters are half as intelligent as we give them credit for, put your toys back. I mean, we don't want them to know we were there.
But to put them in the exact same spot, exactly the same way.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. We recently, on the last trip, put some stuff out. And I'm not going to give away exactly what it is, but I will say this. If anybody's out in my area and hears a musical instrument in the woods, please let me know.
See, that's getting scary. I don't know how I would feel if all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the forest and I'm hearing a banjo play or a saxophone. I don't know how I would feel about that.
And don't get me wrong, it's nothing that complicated, but in fact, I'll put it in private chat. I'll get a laugh out of you. But if we hear those going off, it's going to be because we put 3 different colors out there.
Right.
And I made sure that we had a blue one because everybody tells me that they love blue. I don't know. I know skeeters love blue, but I don't know about Sasquatch. We are going to do some more experimenting with the musical aspect of things when we're out in the field and see if we can get them closer to camp, but getting them close to camp is not a problem. I mean, they're coming in within, 10, 15 feet of camp watching us. They got there was a big handprint left on Nick's truck where he something big, bigger hands than I've got, and I've got pretty good sized hands. with the thumb that was down here, left a pee stain about 3 foot in diameter where we had been peeing. So something was sitting there watching us. I don't know. I can't say what it was, but it looked like a dadgum horse had stood there and took a pee. I mean, it was a lot. But
It's a lot of brown grass.
Do what?
That's a lot of brown grass.
It was unfortunately we didn't take. I didn't have the equipment to take what I felt would be good samples at that time. That has been remedied for the next trip, and that was the third time that we had gotten handprints on vehicles, and it happened again to one of our tracker's sons, and he took his buddies out there and they got handprints. So 4 times they've left handprints on vehicles out there.
I want to ask you about those handprints, if you don't mind.
Sure.
When you guys get these handprints on your vehicles, are you guys in the vicinity of the vehicles when it happens, or have you wandered off a quarter mile, half a mile into the forest where you're not going to be able to see your vehicles?
The first 2 times it happened, we were about 200 yards away from the vehicles in the woods. The third and fourth time it happened was at our campsite, and it happened while we were in camp. So I don't know how to explain that, I mean, and I know that last trip out there, whatever that was that crashed through the brush that made me draw my gun, that spooked me, simply because it sounded just like my second encounter with the dog man when he came charging when he charged me through the brush. And so I don't know, but it seems like the prints that we got off of my truck and Ranger's truck at the cemetery were small prints, less than 6 inches long. The ones that happened back at camp were big prints. So I'm not sure what's going on there, what the whole dynamic is. Is it maybe, are we deep? Because we're 4 miles deeper where we get the big handprints. We're 4 miles deeper where we're camped out than we are with the little smaller handprints. So it very well could be that we're in that area has a nursery or a daycare, however you want to look at it, for baby Sasquatch. And we're dealing with Big Papa Pump down there at camp. I don't know. I do know that we've had people tell us that, and again, I'm going to say this, but don't beat me up about it, that claim to communicate with these creatures. And the reason I say that is just because I haven't done it yet. I can't speak to it. I don't not believe these people. Something's happening. I just hope it's Bigfoot that they're talking to. That we had them around the camp protecting us from the entity that is up at the cemetery that we measured 14 feet tall, and we found the hoof and prints that it left that were 12 to 14 inches in diameter. So supposedly we've had the big boys and girls around camp, and they're protecting us. And with the big handprints left there at camp, it tracks, because it would just, It had its hand on the top of the SUV, looking straight over to our campfire, and maybe it marked its territory so nothing would bother us. I don't know.
The fact that it would get that close really shows the curiosity that these creatures seem to have, which is why. Do you get more results when you're just sitting around a campfire at night, having a drink and a laugh with people telling stories, comparatively to when you're actually trudging through the forest?
Yeah, I do. I do. And I get even more activity when I'm out there by myself. They have gotten within 10 feet of my campfire. And because I keep kind of a low campfire when I'm alone on purpose. And I try not to look at it. But they have came to within about 10 feet of my campfire. And the way, and they stopped probably 50 feet because they made a noise and I didn't react to it. And I think what it is they think they're getting away with something. Oh, he didn't hear us. Okay, we're good to go. You know, we can creep up a little bit closer. And the more you ignore them, the closer they're going to get. So there again, you have to be, if you're going to do this, and I don't suggest anybody do this. I really don't. I used to be on the other side of the fence with it. You want to go hunt these critters, go hunt these critters. But my train of thought has changed because there's a lot of people out there that don't belong out in the woods because they don't know what they're doing. And it's not because of these critters. It's because I don't want anybody ending up like the 5 people that Steve was telling us about. Because you don't know your way around. I mean, 9 out of 10 people that go out in the dadgum woods don't even take a compass with them. And if they did, they wouldn't know how to read it.
Truth.
They don't even take the time to, before they just dive in head first into the brush, to look around and get bearings. So if they do lose their way, maybe they can get to high ground, climb a tree, and find something that's familiar.
I can see that. What's outside of a compass? And I'm not saying a gun here, but
Right.
what is your top 3 tools that you have going into the forest
Besides a compass,
besides a compass?
my Bowie knife. I carry a 15-inch Bowie knife with me, razor sharp. I carry a length of paracord with me, and my phone. Normally I'll turn my phone off if I'm not recording something or something like that, but or at least turn the sound down, put it on silence. But I suggest that if you go out there, you take your phone, you leave the location turned on, you let people know where you're going, where you're going to be, when you're supposed to be back, and see if you've got GPS service when you get there. But those are really the 3 things that I take with me. A walking stick. I do take a walking stick with me everywhere I go. I do carry a lighter. On occasion, I will carry a flint, but that's really about it.
Yeah, I have just built myself. It's funny. I got this really large fanny pack, a hunting type of fanny pack.
Oh yeah,
that I wear, and I've got my first aid kit in there. I've got lighters in there. I've got fire starter in there. Everything that I may need in order to be there. There are things I still have to add, and it's little things that you forget: scissors, nail clippers, popsicle sticks, just in case. You need to build a splint for a finger or something. You know, I mean, there's a lot of little stuff that you do need in order to be safe in the forest. Because in the end, whether you see Bigfoot or not, as we got about 90 seconds to go, Big Tex, you still got to come out.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something real quick that I suggest everybody take with them, and it's called a life straw. And it's a water filtration device, and it can filter. It's just a straw, and it can filter up to 1,000 gallons of water. So that's, and it'll fit in your backpack. You can coil it up, fit in your pocket. So, but
I haven't got one of those yet. Working on it. Big Text, tell us when your next big investigation's coming.
I don't want to give the exact date, but it's around the end of this month. Brandy Butcher with the Blondes and Booze, that is part of our team, is actually coming down to Texas, and I promised her I'd take her out. So we're going to Brown Springs. So it's going to be a hoot. They're doing a paranormal investigation, and then when they get done with that, we're going to Brown Springs. And also heard from Nick, and he's going to go with us.
Very cool. That is awesome. And good luck to you. Be safe out there, as per usual.
I appreciate it.
And we want to say a big thank you, Big Tex, for hanging on out with us for the Cryptid Report tonight and filling in for Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, who will probably be here in a couple nights' time, depending on his recording schedule. And, it's always a blast to have you here. Give a quick shout-out for your podcast. We've got 15 seconds.
Yeah, you can find us over on Texas Front Porch. That's TEX' Front Porch on YouTube, and just about anywhere you can find a podcast. Also on KPNL Radio.
Absolutely.
And Odyssey Radio.
And don't forget, if you want the best beard and Bigfooting, you go see Big Tex right there. Big thank you tonight to everybody tuning us on in, as we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, the hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home.
I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. That's Hearty Eats right there, man. Hearty Eats. I just like
And I
saying,
sure wish I was going to be able to join you in Vegas. Golly.
well, what we're going to do, I'm going to talk to my team. Coming out for next year on whether or not we're going to have it in Vegas again, or whether or not we're going to move it somewhere else. Time of year, there's a good chance we're going to either push it back a little bit back into April, or we're going to push it into, get through the summer break and then push it into September, something along those lines. There will be a number 3, 100%. 100% there'll be a number 3, but we just got to figure out a little bit more on what's going to more so, like, I don't care about me. I can make time for anything, but it's more so about the listeners.
Right.
And it's hard because, you have, like, we were battling around, we're just tossing around some places, excuse me, places that we may want to go. And, like we talked about maybe doing a tour with our radio stations. But here's the problem that you have. Okay. There's a number of problems that arise from that. Number one, anybody who listens to this show, we're night owls.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you say take it out of a 24-hour city, a lot of hotel rooms have noise curfews.
Mm-hmm.
Our people are just waking up at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
10 o'clock.
that's true.
Or, like, for instance, you're 2 hours ahead. It's 2 o'clock in the morning where you are, but you're still going. You may go for another 10 minutes. You may go for another hour and a half. So that is one of the tough things to do. Okay. Is how do you tell, a group of people who are there to hang out with you that, oh, by the way, we have a hotel curfew at 11 o'clock.
Right.
Okay. Now the next thing is travel. The beautiful part of a place like Las Vegas or a place like Reno is when you land there, you're there. You're not having to catch a bus or rent a car or rent an Uber to drive another hour, hour and a half to, say, Mount Shasta or someplace along those lines. Even if we did Vernal, Utah, which I think is a great, great opportunity. And I love the fact that we're broadcasting there in Vernal on X94. Okay. But there are roadblocks to that. So you'd have to fly into Salt Lake City. Then you'd either have to bus it or you would have to rent a vehicle. Okay. Now you got the hotel issue, because even if you rent a hall, the hall is going to have a shutdown time.
Yep.
Okay. And it's just the way it is. And with our listeners, we want to make it as open and friendly as possible. So if you're someone who wants to go to bed at 9 o'clock, you could go to bed. And the other thing too, outside of this year where we got caught with the silliness of that concert that blew prices out of the water. Okay. And that concert hadn't been around in 3 years. And it brings 110,000 people to the city.
Yeah.
The beautiful part about Vegas is, and I realize, look, I know I'm not like everybody else. I love Vegas. It's like when I fly into Vegas, it's like being home again. And the only other time I've ever felt that is when I moved to the town I live in now, where I remember driving down the big hill, seeing the little town lights all on. And I remember thinking, this totally feels like home. Totally feels like home. That's the way it is for me in Vegas. I go back to my old hometown now, and it feels nothing like home. Nothing. So it has, but that's neither here nor there. It's what's best for the listeners. And on a normal time, when they're not getting 100,000 people crashing the city for a concert, Vegas, depending on the time of year, is affordable for a lot of people. Okay. There still are deals at certain times of the year where you could get a hotel room for $40 a night.
Right.
or less or more, right? Depending on what you want to stay in. So there's all of these different variables that kind of go into it. And this year, I mean, people have no idea how bad I feel about going into this year, knowing that Vegas jumped its rates big time this year because of that concert. And, my team and I will talk about it. I know there's a couple people who would like to move it out of Vegas, and there's a few of us who would like to keep it there, but maybe change the dates. So we also thought of, okay, well, what if we do it during the week? And instead of doing a 6-hour show, do 3 nights of the live show. Right. But that's difficult considering it's number 3. Sorry. 3 right there. Okay. That's difficult considering you're asking people to take more days off of work. And it's okay for probably the majority.
Right.
But there's those certain people who now can't make it because they need to work. They need to pay rent. They need food on the table, and if they're not punching that time clock, they're not getting paid.
But that's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you spread it over 3 days, you're giving more people a chance to make it at least one.
Right.
Or 2. So, yeah.
Well, and like Derek says, well, what about on the East Coast? What about a place like Dallas, Texas? You're dealing with hotels, with time curfews. And we're not people who are going to be going to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night.
Well, now, you could do it at a casino, because the casinos down in Oklahoma and Louisiana are 24 hours.
True. But here comes the other part too. If we are going to take it out of Vegas, we want to go to a place where maybe we have a radio station, at least in the vicinity.
Right.
Okay. And the one thing about Vegas is, like, I've had a couple people say to me, well, why don't we do it like a beach town? Well, no, number one, this is my event and I don't do the ocean. So you can't have an SOR event without me, and I ain't doing the frickin' ocean. Okay. Like I said, there's a lot of variables that kind of go into that. Right. And it comes down to cost as well. So Derek's saying here, well, what about Orlando, Florida? For me, coming from Canada, that's a $2,000 flight.
Right.
Okay. For me going to Vegas, $2,000 pays my flight, my hotel. This is Canadian. Okay. And remember, my dollar is about for every American dollar costs me about $1.40 Canadian right now. So $2,000 is about $1,400 American. And for me, that $2,000 pays for my hotel, pays for my flight, and pays for the swag, or part of the swag that we are delivering for our audience.
Right.
So, like I said, there's variables to absolutely everything. I'm not saying like a place like Orlando wouldn't be a bad choice. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is I have to be able to balance the person who is making $2,000 a month and has been saving up all year to come to it. And I got to be able to accommodate the person who's making $25,000 a month or more. And where, hotels, flights, or accommodation aren't an issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
So
It's hard to find a happy medium, and you know they're always running. The thing about it is they're always running special flights to Vegas. You know,
and
and
and if we catch it, and I'm going to talk to a couple people that I know down there, and I'm going to find out. Yeah, I hit the wrong button. I'm going to talk to a couple people that I know down there and just say, look, if we bring it back here, what can we do different? Like maybe what we do next year is we keep it in Vegas, but there's a lot of nice hotels off the strip, off of Fremont Street that are going to be easier. Or maybe we move it to Reno, or maybe we move it somewhere else, right? But for me, it's about trying to balance the fact that I don't want it to be a rich person's event. You know what I'm
right,
saying? I want that person, and trust me, I had one listener last year. I'm not going to say who it is. I had one listener last year who told me they barely ate for 4 months because they had to save in order to come to this event. And they rationed themselves because it was so important to them to come to the first one last year and meet us and meet everybody and be a part of it. And that's the person that I have to cater to.
hmm
Along with the person, like with me, could I afford Orlando? Sure, I could. Could I? But if I were to not do Orlando, or if I were to do Orlando, how does that affect like if I want to take my son on a family vacation,
right.
right? So there's all of these different variables, that I have to weigh out. And like I said, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing. I would like to keep it in Vegas next year because my goal is to still or to try and get a Vegas radio station.
I think Vegas is a good location. I'm not I'm not in love with Vegas like you are. I'm not in love with any big city. Um, but it's like I said, they're always running specials, you know. And I mean, hell, even being down here in Texas, last time we went to Vegas, we drove,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of the a lot of the prices, it's all because of that stupid concert. And I shouldn't call it a stupid concert. I mean, I like EDM music, and hell, I'm somebody who would probably go hang out with all the young 20 somethings and, twerk my ass away. Right. I mean, I like that music. I do. I enjoy it. I still enjoy going to a nightclub because I like the music. I like the feeling, but on the flip side, not everybody does. I can't control what the city does. See, one of the things about Laughlin, and I did think of Laughlin, is you're an hour plus out of the city. So now you have to Uber, you have to bus, or you have to taxi or rent a
Right.
car. Okay, so it's one of those four that's going on. So there's a problem. So now you've added that extra expense to get to Laughlin. Because remember, some people can't, they don't have that $50 for an Uber or $100 for an Uber. That's a day and a half, 2 days of eating for some people,
Right. Right.
right? So, like I said, we have to do our homework for next year. I'm going to talk to the team about getting everything in order. Like I said, I know there's a couple people who don't want to go back to Vegas. Okay. They just don't like the vibe. They don't like the style. And that's fine. I'm willing to keep open ears, but we also have to be able to combine that with what is best for our listener who is going to save all year to spend a
Right.
weekend with us. And that's why, like, our rates, for the VIP package, we're never going to bump them up higher than what they are,
Right.
right? Because it's not fair, right? I've seen some of these conferences out there, and we have a better lineup than 90% of the conferences. And you don't even get to talk about the people or talk to the people there. But our event, these conferences are, for the most part, a long weekend conference like that is between $200 and $500. That's just to get entry. What we're saying is, I'm not here to make a profit. I'm here to, cover the bills,
Right.
right? Because there are bills that need to be paid.
I never understood. Okay. When you book somebody to speak, everybody has different fees. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger the name, the bigger the price. But I never understood, like you're talking about, outpricing the people that's going to be going, because if you make it too expensive, they're like, oh, I can't afford that. Even if they can only, if it's 50 miles down the road, and you've got a, $175, $150 entry fee to this thing. There's people that are very, very loyal listeners that me and you both have that can't afford that, and I mean, I've seen people, and bless their heart, I've seen people give 99 cents, $1, because that's all they can afford. But
Yeah.
they're willing to give it to us to support what we do.
Yeah.
And I think it is our responsibility to give back every chance we get.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I've been toying, or we have been toying with the idea of putting together a conference down here in Texas. And my main thing is I want to make it affordable, because I know what it's like, and I want to be able, I want people to, I don't want them to roll home on fumes just to come see me or see somebody that's speaking,
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you this much, and I'm probably going to piss some people off, but if you're a speaker at my conference, you damn well better not be uppity with my guest.
Mm-hmm.
They paid damn good money and took time out of their life to come see you. You better be very, very nice and accommodating.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I want people to be able to afford it. Like I said, we're gonna have to figure out next year the pricing ability of everything. Okay, that's the big
number one. Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that there's no spring events, no summer events going on, okay, where we get caught up in this type of BS again.
Yeah.
And trust me, I'm very thankful. We're expecting probably 60, 70 people there, maybe 80. And I think that is an incredible turnout. I know last year we had about 60 people there, just under 60. And I was surprised that many came. I thought we'd be lucky if we got between 10 and 20. I was thinking there would be like 15 people. So, but I mean, on the flip side, for our audience, so like all of our special guests, when they're invited to come, they're coming on their own dime. We're not paying them to come. This is a fan party,
Right.
but they feel like when Tex was originally trying to get his schedule around to come, it was because he wanted to hang out with you guys and meet you guys. It had nothing to do with SOR. It's a matter of meeting the fans and all of us getting together in one location and having a great time with what we are doing. And there's not a single person. I've even have special guests this year who are coming who are paying their own way, and I've offered to refund them, and they're like, no man, we gotta try and do all this together. I'm not going to say which ones, but there's a couple there.
Yeah.
Right. Derek,
Thank you, Derek,
for that super chat. It's just
and I want to give a shout out real quick to Emmy, and a few others real quick. I've seen them. Y'all humble me. You really do, folks. I try. Emmy says you're a big man with an even bigger heart. Bless you. And there's another one, Abnormal. Tex, you're a good man, and you have my respect for that. And to me, that's what matters. That's respect is what matters.
Yeah.
And I think we have to. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people with podcasts that do not respect their listeners like you do, Dave. And I commend you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. And my thing is I want everybody to enjoy the journey. This is why, like, when we get people in our chat room who are like fake, liar, how do you put this guy on the air? How do you put this lady on the air? Oh, that's BS. That's this. That's that. That's why I get defensive.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mind people disagreeing with the guest.
Disagree all you want.
Yeah. Just be respectful about it. That's all I ask. Don't be a D. Don't be a dick. That's all I'm saying.
And yet, for a lot of people in the field, it's hard. It's very hard. And I don't quite understand that. You know what I'm saying? Don't quite get it.
I don't. Me either. And I don't understand, and I never have, and I never will get the infighting and everything between all the podcasters. I really don't. Why is it so hard to get along? Just because you've got more subscribers than I do, big deal. That's on me. It's
on all of us.
Yeah. And you're not, okay, this is the way I see it. I'm not competing with all the other podcasters and all the other Bigfoot channels and stuff out there. I'm not. I'm competing with myself.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, subscriber count's not that big, not that big of a deal to me. I do this because I love doing it. If it ever, and I've always said this, if it ever quits being fun, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And I will admit, I've came close a few times.
Oh, we've all been there, buddy. We have all been there.
Because there are people out there that for some reason is like they live to suck the joy out of anything.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a lot of that going on.
There
You
is,
know?
unfortunately.
Like, but you know what? You also, though, have to stand your ground for
Mhm.
what you believe in. So, for instance, there's a giant Bigfoot conference happening up here in a week. I looked at the guest list, and there's somebody on that guest list who's speaking who I wouldn't give him the time of day if my life depended on it. He'll never be on this show.
Right.
Right. And I got people all over. Were you coming? Were you coming? Well, no. The host of the conference has blown this show off about 3 times. And the person has a speaker going on there. People have heard me talk about the monkey boy. You've heard me talk about the monkey boy. And that's just stuff I don't agree with. Right. So I'm not going to go down to the conference. You think they may have been wanting to have us involved, but no, it's quite okay. I'm okay with it.
Well, I'll tell you this much. When and if I get to put one together, and I really want to put one together, but I want to have, my problem is the channel's not to the point right now where I can save up the capital to get one together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to go into debt putting together a conference. But if and when that happens, you can bet your butt you're gonna be a part of it.
And you know what? I'll be there. And to me it's great. And I don't, what people don't understand is there's a lot of conferences that I've done over the years where I paid out of my own pocket to get there.
Mhm. Yep.
Because you believe in the people.
Yep.
I had one conference that I go to. I'm not going to say who it is or what it is, but there's one that I've gone to where in previous years, the person who runs it said, look, I'm really struggling financially right now. But they were trying to pay me for advertising. I said, as long as you have me there, you're not paying for advertising.
Right.
I'll do it. Right. Why not? It's all give and take.
It is. It is. And if people would learn that we're on the same team, regardless of what we believe about these subjects,
True. Very true.
Because me and you have difference in what we believe on these, especially on the Bigfoot subject. But I don't think if somebody sat here and talked to us, they'd never know it. And even when we do, we have a conversation about it. And I think that's the important thing. I would love to have a panel with everybody from the both sides of the woo camp, the ape camp, and everything in between, all together on a panel that can have a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we all need to be open. And it's like I've said, just because I've never had a Bigfoot speak to me doesn't mean I don't think it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen one cloak that I know of, but that don't mean I don't think it's possible. Hell, it's with everything I've seen, anything's possible. And people have got to be open-minded enough to go, well, maybe, if nothing else, maybe,
I know that feeling.
Speaking of that, I want to get your opinion on something.
Sure.
And I think there's those that listen to my channel that's heard me breach this subject. And it just came to me a couple of weeks ago. Okay. are we in agreement that we can't trust mainstream academia and science?
Yes and no.
Okay. That's a perfect answer. That's a perfect answer for what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, because they are trying to hold down these topics instead of doing their job and investigating them.
Right.
No, because there are scientists out there like Dr. Gary Nolan or Science Bob or Melba Ketchum or whoever that are trying to they understand the passion of this subject.
Right.
And they're trying to bring it out the best they can with scientific perspective, because their job as scientists is to explore.
Yep.
Doesn't matter whether it's the human body or archaeology or
But we have to agree that those are exceptions to the rule.
true.
As far as the bulk of mainstream science and academia. Okay. Because those people are going out on a limb, honestly, because they could very well, tank their careers and everything else, but they put themselves out there, and I commend them for that. That being said, let me ask you this: Gigantopithecus. Okay. So they find this piece of a jawbone and these teeth, right? They automatically say, oh, well, there was a 10-foot ape that existed. Oh, and by the way, listen to this artist rendition, and it looks like a freaking orangutan. And everybody gets up in arms about it in this community that, when it is a Bigfoot, it's not a Bigfoot and everything else. And I have a hard time articulating my point on this. I confuse a lot of people when I start talking about this. So if I do that, just let me know. As far as I'm concerned, I don't trust what they're saying. I don't think they released all the DNA results that they got from that critter. I think that it is a Bigfoot that they found, but they're not going to come off of the results. Whether you think they are nothing but an ape, or they have these special abilities, or from another planet, that doesn't matter. That was a Bigfoot. In my heart, that was a Bigfoot. But they don't want to tell us. Because I don't think they're releasing the full results. Look at the Smithsonian and the bones we know they've gotten. And they disappeared, or they don't exist.
There's a lot of variables with that.
There is.
There's a lot of variables. I don't buy the Gigantopithecus argument with it, only because I think it's a, lack of a better term, a cheap way to deny, for many to deny evidence. Okay. And like, if we're talking about the Sasquatch world here for a minute, and I know I'm more pro woo than that, and I'm a little biased on that,
Right.
in my opinion. Okay. But the idea behind the reason why I respect a guy like you may not believe the woo. Okay. But you're not willing to rule it out.
Not
because
at all.
you don't know. And the problem that we have with the BFRO types or monkey man types is they've already made up their mind. There is nothing scientific that they can do that is going to work. It's like the UFO types, and we've had them on our show, the UFO scientists who absolutely refuse to take anything from an experiencer because they don't want to believe it. It's not scientific, they say.
Right.
Okay, great. That's a great opinion. But the minute you start, the problem that we have in this field is too many people want to conduct opinion. They don't want to conduct science. And that's a problem.
And they want to put their opinion out there as fact.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
You can't do it at all. Right?
But I think they found it, and they're oppressing it just like they do everything else with this subject.
Mm-hmm. Could very well be. Could very well be. On that note, my friend, we got to call it the night because I got to get to bed and get to work tomorrow. But thank you for filling in for Super Duke. I really appreciate it, man.
Hey, anytime I'm available, all you got to do is say the word, brother.
Will do. Appreciate you. Big
No
bad
problem.
text right there. Tomorrow night on the show, everyone, it's Science Bob time. And Dr. Michael Masters will be our special guest on Science Bob and Friends. So make sure you check it on out. Big thank you to Derek ×3 with a hat trick. Louis ×2. Steven text, thank you for your super chat. John, Mike, Dry Toast, and Deb, very much appreciate the love. Let's do it all again tomorrow, guys. So we're about to have some fun next week. Take care. See you, Tex.
See ya.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.